I think we'll get started. Can everybody hear me? We do have a microphone if we need it. I cannot talk very loud, believe it or not. Everybody get one of these, because that way you can read. I'm probably not going to read about it. You guys can all read, I know, but I'm real excited about this year, especially when they told me who was speaking. I kind of turned this over to Slater, Jeff Slater, and now 3 out of the last 4 years, he can't be here. So it always ends up with me. But if there's a good about that, going to save us a 6-pack of Apple's Ale. You guys remember he'd always want me to buy Apple's Ale. We have beer coming at 2 o'clock, so we save a little money there. But you can read that stuff. And the other thing that I'm very excited about is I know all these speakers pretty well. So you're going to have to read if you're going to learn about them on paper. I probably have a story about each one of them. And old Fred here, we go way back. 03.
03, Baileyville.
Yep,
at our place.
At your place, yeah.
Yeah.
I was, Baileyville. We beat Pike Valley, believe it or not, the regional game. So then we're going to play Madison, and really we'd not even look past Pike Valley because we were not supposed to be, we weren't that good. I'm not saying we were bad, I'm just saying we lost everybody from the year before, and now all of a sudden we're playing for sub-state championship against Madison. And here's how long ago it was. It's when cell phones kind of just came out, so you had to be in the right spot and hold your foot right to get any reception. And I called Fred, and I said, so where do we want to meet? We actually won to trade film the next day. And for all you young guys, you probably don't even know what that means, to trade film. In the old days, every Saturday morning you'd get up early and go meet a coach somewhere and give them your film, which my wife always said, no, that's stupid. Why are you giving them your stuff? But anyway, as you guys know, that's the way it goes. But back then it did seem like you know just everybody, because you'd always just meet, trade film, talk a while, and got to know a lot of people. This day and age with the computers, that's kind of stopped, which I do miss that part. And as hard as much fun as it wasn't at the time, to get up early the next morning to drive wherever, to go trade films, it was a great way to get to know guys. But anyway, called Fred, said, hey, and I had to stand, I was at this guy's house in Baileyville, and you had to stand out back, and I'm not lying, and put your foot, if your foot was touching or anything was touching the washing machine, you could have reception. So I'm standing like this, talking to Fred on the phone, and said, yep, we'll meet at Applebee's or something in Topeka, 9 o'clock that next morning. And we're happy, of course, we're celebrating a little bit. We got a phone. I just put my phone on the washer, go ahead and continue to celebrate that we won. We're going to play sub-state. Got up the next morning, get ready to go see Fred, and I looked at my phone. And I go, oh my God. You got to pick your friends just right. And obviously that night I did not, because they took my phone, and I'm sure you remember this, called Fred all hours of the night. You remember that? Till like 2, 3 in the morning.
I thought it was Nancy and Judy was calling me.
Yeah, who knows what it was. I don't know them, but it might be them. But yes. So yeah, we met, trade film, and life is good. But Fred, I think everybody probably knows Fred. Fred's a legend in his own right. I mean, he truly is. He's been there, done that. And I said, you can read the thing to learn more about him, but had many games, many good games, all playoff games against Madison. I mean, just every year you know if you're going to get anywhere, you got to go through Madison, and he did a heck of a job. So, all you.
All right, let me start off by, I'm not real nervous, but I'm old. So if I'm holding my papers up here and they're going like this, don't feel sorry for me. I'm just shaky because I'm old. Hey, it's a great pleasure to be here. Looking back on my career a little bit in Madison, I had an opportunity to speak, and Kevin and me spoke at clinic in Tulsa, the Clinic of Champions down there, when I was like third year coaching 8-man football. Some Oklahoma coaches wanted to see some stuff on my offense, so I got invited down there, and I met Kevin. I didn't really meet Kevin, but I said that he's doing the defense. I looked over there. He looked like he was a senior in high school then, and I was still an old guy then, and Kevin, you went from you were winning football games and championships when you were down there, and boy, you've just continued on, and it's a pleasure to meet you now at this, because this is my last clinic, and I did my first clinic with you, so it's a nice little sidestep there. I called Mark Lenz, he's head of the football state association yesterday, just to get just an idea on the referee situation. And the only thing I wanted to say was, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but we got to start taking really good care of our refs, or we're not going to be playing football if it keeps going the way it is. This year we had not me, but Madison High School had a 3-hour delay waiting for officials to finish one game to another. I know in the state there was some games moved from Friday night to Thursday night because of official shortages. I'm not saying I'm the perfect guy, but I remember when I coached, I would tell each officiating crew, I'm not going to yell at you. I'm going to coach. You're going to officiate. I might ask you some questions during the game. And I really tried to live by that. And I think I got that from a coach, Jerry Emerson, back in New Jersey when I coached back there, because that's the way he treated officials. And a lot of those officials back there were very good friends of ours. So the only other thing I would point out was, if you have a parent meeting, I think some point in that parent meeting, we got to talk about officials a little bit to the parents. All right. Might start off with, coaches all have stories. I was thinking about a couple coaches' stories I could share with you before we got into the X and O stuff. Some of them I probably can't share with you because they're pretty crazy. But a couple of them, to give you a feeling of North Jersey, how kind of North Jersey's different than here. Like, I had kids on my team that I had parents that were involved in the North Jersey Mafia. So sometimes when you have a problem with a parent here, at least he's not in the Mafia. Okay? So, kind of an interesting little New Jersey story. One other one I was going to tell you, this one's kind of a little comical, I think. You know, Greg did the Super Bowl this year. Greg Olson did the play-by-play in the Super Bowl. Well, we coached against his dad, Chris Olson, was a great coach in northern New Jersey. And we're getting ready to play Wayne Hills. And I was a head offensive coordinator at the time, and we had a guy named Rich Conti. He was like an organizer. I don't think he knew anything about football, but he was a head coach, and he just delegated stuff, and then he disappeared. But anyways, you know the coach at KU about 10 years ago, the real big guy? What was his name? Bangino. That is Rich Conti's little brother. That's how big Conti was. So Olson comes in the middle of the field at warm-ups, and he goes, Conti. Conti looks over and says, you can stick that tight end delay up your ass. Like that. So Conti doesn't say anything. So we walk over to the sidelines, and he goes, McClain, I don't give a shit what you call tonight. You just call whatever you want to call. But run that mother freaking tight end delay first. So I go, oh, shit. So I go up to the defensive coach, my buddy Butler. I said, he wants us to run the freaking tight end delay first. And what's name said he's going to knock it up our ass, right? So anyways, we call tight end delay. We clear the linebackers out with some dive motions and stuff. The kid named Dunn comes over the middle, just opens up, catches it for about a 30-yard gain. Here's Conti. Olson! Up your ass! And he just stood there going up and down. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. I think I promote knucklehead trees. And what we do with a knucklehead tree is, if a kid's not paying attention, he's not hustling, we have something close to our practice field that we can say, hey, tree. And you're gone. You're down around the tree and back. Or you're in team, offensive's not getting out of the huddle, not getting the tempo going. guys, we're going to go tree here in a second. Tree, offense, boom. So they go down around the tree and come back, we're ready to go again. Kind of refocus those guys. And it's a famous tree in Madison now. The wind blew a big limb down. They cut these down. They sold them at Madison Days for $30 a piece, and first thing it sold out. So it's kind of a tree in our field. Actually, people pull up there. Kids once in a while take a picture of it. Now they're 30 years old. So if you don't have a knucklehead tree, I think you need something to get their attention without spending 20 minutes talking to them about it. Okay, we're gonna try this snap drill here. This is how we start practice every day when I coached. I learned this. This is very popular back in New Jersey. Does anybody in here do a clap snap drill before practice? If you add it up, at the end of the year, we probably do a couple thousand snap drills with our team. And if we take everybody in here and put your hands 6 inches away from your nose and about 6 inches like this. Let's try it. Okay? All right, now I'm going to give you our snap count, just like you're my new team. And at first, we will probably hear this. But eventually, we're going to hear, boom, one sound. Okay, so everybody's got to be 6 inches away. And our count's going to be set, black, go. I'm a big believer in going on one go. Or whatever, hut one, whatever. Not hut 2, 3, or 4. All right, on go, you're going to clap your hands. Now watch this clap. How's that? Pretty exciting? I always say your hands got to sting after the clap. So if you hit them hard, you're going to feel that little sting feeling. Okay, you're going to see if we get one sound on go. Here we go. Set, black, go. Not bad. Set, black, go. Now if you do that with your team, you're not going to get it quite like that. All right? Now, after we do that about 3 or 4 times as a coach, then I'm going to go, Kyle, you got him for 3. He's our starting quarterback. So he's got him for 3. Sammy, second team quarterback's got him for 3. And like I said, it tunes everybody in for practice. It's after we do our stretch, our walking stretch drill, or whatever you want to call that. Then we get everybody down like this with their hands right here. And I think it's, the more you practice the snap, and now we have a play called nobody move. So we'll go in a huddle and we just say, hey, we'll call out a formation, stud 34, nobody move. So now let's get our hands back up. Okay? And what's nobody move tell you? Don't move. Set, black, go. Now the first time you do that with young kids, oh my God, the kid will go like this. And after about 5 or 6, then he finally gets a tree. I'd say the first week we don't send too many trees on snap drill. But if you want to get kids off the ball in sync, coming off the ball together, not off, boom, 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 that snap drill is really good. And you do it every day. I think it's a great drill. Okay, we're going to go to snap pre-reads. When I break down a film, I learned from a great coach named Joe Tully, we do some formation stuff. I like knowing what you do in formations. And sometimes you break down a lot of films and they're pretty all run formations or they're all pass formations. I also like to know first down tendencies. But the biggest thing I like to do is study your individual players pre-snap. For example, I'm a wide receiver. I'm coming out of the huddle. I'm down like this. Next play, he comes down to the huddle. Now, which is run and which is pass? You got it? You see that all the time. Right? And now you watch next play. Pretty soon it's 100%. Once we get 100%, we start thinking about making an Army call and an Air Force call. So they'll come out. We'll have someone read that wide out. Army, Army. What's it telling everybody? It's going to be a run. We're still going to make our reads, but we know it's probably going to be a run. Air Force, Air Force. What do we got? Okay. Big linemen and offensive guards give great keys because they're going to get down. I like the film, especially it's a little slow. You watch them come out of the huddle. It's down like this. Rocks forward. What do we got there? We got Army, right? Now, comes out of the film. Barely touching, light hand. Looks like an Air Force. Probably a pass. Now the shoulder's right here on this lineman. When you watch this hand, big guys, when they pull, they slide their hand up to here, a lot of them, because they want to push out. So hands up here, a lot of times it's a pull. Watch my shoulder levels too. See how this shoulder comes up? Another thing will give us an Army and Navy call. Feet alignment on the backs. I see this a lot. They're like this. This back's going this way. They line up like this. This back's going that way. Backs, sometimes you got split back, like split back veer teams. This guy will be light. This guy will be heavy in his stance. Which way are they going? They're going to dive this guy on the heavy, and they're going to trail the light guy. Does that make sense? Okay. I had a great linebacker coach, Tracy Griffin. His brother's back there, and he knows he's a hell of a coach. Tracy was a real good wrestler in college, so he could analyze stances real good. And we would let our linebackers have a blood call. That's what we're going to go back to. We're going to go to the blood call here. And we had this kid named Cale Shanky right here. He goes back. You would think this is a blitz call. This is a blood call. He read the guard. He knew the guard was pulling. Then he said, I'm going blood. All right? And if you come back here and watch this guard, his shoulders are up a little higher than that tight end. And we shoot right through. And Shanky doesn't give it away. He's real good. He stands there. He makes the read. Just adjusts his feet a little bit. He's not like getting antsy, like, hey, I'm going to go. And then they're going to chop him with someone on the back door. Next up here, you're going to see Shanky again. Look at this guard first. Look how light he is. I don't know. It's kind of hard to see on here. But he's real light. They're going to run boot the other way. Shanky doesn't go with any motion in the backfield. Goes where the guard told him to go. Another blood call. This next blood call was a big play in the game. If we go back, they cheated the back up when they're going to run dive over here and fake sweep over here. So he had a heavy hand here. He knew it was coming. He went on the other side of the guard, ripped the ball out, got it down to the 2-yard line. When this happened, we were down 14-3. After this play, the score was 14-52 at the end of the game. This was a real momentum boost for us right here. Big play. Sub-state game versus Lebo, 210, I think. Okay. What's that? This is something else. Anytime you have like a question, slow me down here a second, okay? 2 no-nos in football. They're my no-nos. Number 1, never ever be offsides on punt return. Ever. I back them up a yard. I said, I'm going to give you a yard. Okay, they're going to do some kind of trick to try to pull you off sides on 4th and 4 when they're punting. Nobody goes off sides. Well, in my career, I've had one. It was Cullen Kyle, my quarterback that won me 2 state championships, won us 2 state championships, did it as a sophomore against SCT. And my wide receiver, named Tyler Hendricks, went off sides. That's my other no-no. a wide receiver never ever should go off sides. And I will say this, I've been watching a lot of, my grandsons have been playing 8-man football for Madison, so I get huddled, I just watch the films. I cannot believe how many teams come out here like this and they don't have their wide receivers watching the ball. They come out here like this, down like this. You got the wind, you got people yelling from over here. I don't know how, they can't do the cadence. So I would check your film. If you got guys looking straight ahead like this, you're doing it wrong. And there's a lot of different ways to go to Kansas City, but my way says you're going to have offsides problems, and you shouldn't have any, because I should be looking in at the ball. And if you look at pro football, college football, you don't see anybody not looking in at the ball. If you turn the page on here, I'm not a math whiz with percentages, but I wanted to just kind of show that if you practice with individual time, group time, and team time, it should change during the season. But I really think individual time goes right to the last week if you're playing for the state championships. And I firmly believe when you stop doing individual work, your team stops getting better right there. And I see teams a lot after 2-a-days, a week into the season, they're doing a lot of team. And they're not doing individual. And then I think that hurts your program. You got to make sure you get, now the individual session can be smaller because number one, they're learning the drills, they're getting better at it, so it can be reduced time, but you're still getting almost just as much done. At first, you got to teach them the drill. And I think you got to realize it's going to take a while to learn the drill you're trying to do. So don't give up on it, wait for it to develop and then get excited once it develops. So you can see late season, it's mostly team, a little bit of group where you're going to work the backs together, the line together, the linebackers together, the secondary, and then your indie goes down. But believe me, you'll probably get just as much done as you did early season. Tempo. I think when you get to team, I think you need to play with tempo with the team. I don't like a lot of standing around, and I don't like anybody standing around at my practice. We run two teams. Sometimes when we had numbers, we ran 3. And if you don't, you can use garbage cans. 3 years ago when I coached junior high, we didn't have enough to have 3 teams. So I said I had my first team, my second team, and my third team was garbage cans. And we set them up each week where they're going to do, put a little paint on the thing so the kid would block the garbage can and bring it back and put it down, get the next team up there. But let's just... I'll just put up a 3-2 here real quick. Okay. And this is our gold group. This is our red group. And these guys over here are our green on defense. So we hand out three scrimmage vests. It organizes practice real easy. Instead of going out there and say, Jonesy, you get a guard, Smith at guard, that takes a minute and a half out of your practice. Hey, golds, line up, let's go. Reds, get in the huddle. Greens, get the bags. Boom, boom, boom. Tempo. Okay, now we're gonna have a playlist at practice. What plays we want to run? We're gonna go gold. Run the play, blow the whistle, get your ass back to the huddle. As they're getting back to the huddle, red comes out. They run a play, blow the whistle. They're back to the huddle. Gold's up, let's go. You got a coach on the run. If you got a problem with the gold guard, then get him on the way back to the huddle and say, hey, look, this is what you got to do. Boom, boom, boom. Get down, maintain your block, because we're ready to go. So coaching on the run, keeping the tempo up. Then once we get through that list, we take the greens, they huddle up, reds go play D, and we go down a list again. So everybody gets offensive work. In 18 years at Madison, I think we lost, and we didn't keep a count on this, I think we lost 5 JV games where we just went and played some men somewhere. Because I see JV sometimes, fellas, where the people are down in the end zone teaching the people the offense that they don't really know. And then they're going to play us with the same kids that's been running the offense for 3 weeks or 5 weeks. It's really not even a game. And I guarantee you, you run your one team here against that defense, and we'll run 2 in the same amount of time and get it just as much done. Okay? And no one's standing around. And you want to get someone's attention? Get a red guard over here in the gold huddle and get that gold guard over here for a while. Think that'll get his attention a little bit? Yeah. There you walk by, hey, you want to get back in the gold huddle? Let's go. Let's start busting our butt out here. Little subtle message there. And then if he doesn't get back, then the next day when we put the depth chart up, next time offense, he might be red. And all you got to do is get 3 colors. We have gold because gold's we called them the green machine was our young guys. And I always said, nobody messes with the green because they're my buddies. They're my young kids. No one messes with them. All right. We're going wrap around draw. It's a play I got from Ramapo High School. We played them in New Jersey. This kid from Ramapo, not this kid, but the kid from Ramapo made North Jersey Player of the Week, had over 200 yards on a wraparound draw. And I said, I'm putting that play in. Like, I think I earned enough to put the play in. I got my ass kicked for a game. But what we want to do here is, first let me show you the action of the draw. Coach, be the fullback up there. We're over here just a little bit. I'm just going to come here. He's going to step there, up, and I'm going to go here. What he does is you got to instead of having your hands here on the wraparound draw, you want this hand to go over more. So because you're taking the ball on the side. So if you do it here, you're probably going to drop the ball. So this, you're just going to step up, and he's going to read the nose guard. You can see, we go slow, we're going to read the nose. He goes that way, we're going the other way. The ends, we're taught to fan block out, give them a good push, and then release downfield. The guards, we're going to go pass fake and go. And you can see it on here. Let's look at our guards, see how they do. Pop, pop, and then they're gone. That was the third play of the state championship game. We had a 3rd and 9 there, and we pick up the first down by about an inch, which was exciting. Next play, Coach, a little harder to see. This is the team that Steve played against here. Michael Luth, he's the running back against Gossel. The game before we played Steve, this Gossel had a real good team. We'd run a motion just to pull someone else out of there. Read the nose man. Right through. It's an easy play. This is right-handed here. And then we have a left-handed quarterback. We're going to do it in a minute. Run it again, Coach. Let it go. Next play. Here's a left-handed quarterback. Here's Cole Shanky, great player. Big reason why we won a state title, because you got a man running the ball. There's the motion to pull that corner out of there. Guards do a nice job right there. Fake and pass. Release. You can see we might have almost released the ends a little early here, but it still worked. Next up. Now we're going to do it in gun. This is Alex McMillan put this in. It was what, sub-state game or something? I think it's Canton Galva. It was look at this, 4th down play in a big game, and it's a great running back they had here, Hunter Engel. And my grandson, number 3, is actually throwing the disc about this moment in New Jersey somewhere. But that's, you can run this out of gun. Okay, next up, I think we have one more maybe, or that's it. This against Lebo in that sub-state game.
3rd and long.
3rd and long. I like it because it's 3rd and long and you're deep in your territory and it's a safe play. You know what I mean? If you don't make the first down, we punt. But if you're trying to make the first down throwing it, you might be in trouble because everybody knows you're going to throw the ball. Okay. Next up is I'm going to show you a way you can get an extra person at the point of attack. You might want to, I don't know, if you're interested, you might move just a little bit. But I'll just show you how we line this up. We line it up like this, and then this guy is going to line up on the line of scrimmage, which most of the time the other team doesn't recognize that. Now, if you step this guy back and you step him up, I think everybody kind of figures out what you're doing. Hey, he's not eligible. He becomes all the things that happen. But since this guy's on the line, you're kind of, they don't know that. Okay, so we're going to stem the tight end across like this. And we have a package off of this. This one's called KC Mo. And the kids go, what are we going to call this? That's KC Mo and KCK. That's what we called it. Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas. And just a name out of the blue we picked out. So we're going to go like toss off of that, get the quarterback in front, get the fullback. He's going to lead up. He's going to crack on the first guard, first linebacker he sees. He's going to kick out who's ever covering that man. He's going to look to help on the end if he has to, and then break downfield. Now, after we run this a couple times, people start cheating their end out here. Now we'll run the same play. He slows down, and it'll be KC Mo dive, and then we're going to go right there, and he's going to kick the end out. You'll see it on the film. Then when we get the secondary all screwed up and start coming up, we're going to throw an out route to this guy, fake the toss. He goes to a safety valve right there. Quarterback rolls this way. He's coming down here, and then he's going to go deep. And we get that a lot. You'll see it in the state championship game when we run KCK this way. This safety, when we threw the ball, is on a line of scrimmage. This corner is about there. We were running a chair route, and this guy turned up, and he saw that everybody was gone, so his chair right turned into that because he just cut it up. He didn't have to run all the way to the sideline to make the chair. Smart move by the kid. We hit this. We hit this for a touchdown. Oh, wait a minute. We hit.
It was the other way around.
Oh yeah, we were running KC Mo here, so I had to turn the thing around this way. Wrong formation. But take a look. What do we run? We running the toss here. We're going to run the toss here. Here he comes. We pick up 2 extra blockers, and we're down the field. Go ahead, Coach. Now I'm going to stop this just for a second. Just to change this for a second, but I think this is really important. If you watch our end block, we have a thing called filming the ball carrier. And if that end, he punches here, and he has a camera on his butt, and then he films the ball carrier and doesn't let that guy across your face. And if you take that guy and you jam him and kick the crap out of him, push him 3 yards deep, he's going to go across your face and make the play. But if you can get into him and film, and if you want to see the best filmer in professional football, it's Kelsey for the Eagles. The guy's unreal. When the Eagles play, that's who I watch, Kelsey. He gets on those linebackers and he folds and he films. He gets on that nose and he films. And this is a good example. That tight end right here. Come on back. He does a nice job filming right there. Filming that ball carrier. Okay. Now, what happens? They put the end outside. Now we just knock him out and we drive right through there. So it's Casey Moe, dive left, dive right. And again, we got Shanky running the ball, but a lot of times he's not getting touched for like 8 yards. So okay, now we're going to throw to that tight end. Right there for a big first down in a sub-state game. He's coming across. Same thing, that wideout's coming down. Picks up a big first down for us right there. All right, Coach, go ahead. Same thing, we're going to throw to that motion man. And we got the safety valve out there. And we got the other guy deep, but I think he's probably covered. This is a sub-state game too. That's a quarterback that went off sides on punt that I'm still pissed about. Now we're going to throw the ball. Watch their safety here. Here he goes. What's the corner? And you'll see that chair route, he turns it up like right now. Tanner Bybee for a touchdown. That's in the state championship game. Okay. Now, next up I'm going to show you what they call it, wing T scissors reverse. And I've had a lot of people ask me, I don't know how you do that reverse, because every time we try to do it, we drop the ball on the ground. And I know exactly what the problem is. People are trying to run this quick scissors reverse with traditional handoffs. It will not work. If you want to put in this scissors reverse, the guy's got to take the ball just like this. He's going to get it, and then he's going to pass it, just like that. Okay? So coach is coming here. I'm going to give it to you. Quarterback's right here. He just gives it to me. He comes, and we go right by. If you try to do a traditional handoff, it's not going to work. Now, I'm always surprised that people have really athletic ends and don't use them as running backs in their offense. Because you could run this in the gun right here, over here. I'm gonna give it right there. That tight end is going to come here. He's going to go right there, and he's off to the races. And you can do something else with your running back to pull someone out on motion or whatever. But you can see when we run it, these two guys, never dropped the ball once. This is back a while ago. And then he's just looking for a seam to turn up. He turns up a little early here. You see, it's get it, give it. That's why I think they call it a scissors reverse, like with the scissors. There it is right there. Now, in 11-man, we'd run this play, Delaware wing T stuff. We would actually fake that bootleg, and then off that double reverse, we would have a pitch way down the field. Sometimes when the safety came over, we would pitch it to that trail quarterback. Never really had to do it that much in 8-man because we pretty much always got big plays out of this. So I didn't want to take a chance on putting it on the ground. Have you moved it?
That's the last one.
Now you'll see it from this angle. You can see it's a real quick handoff. And if you do this, it'll work. Pinky, put your pinkies together, thumbs out. Favorite play of mine right here, always a big play when we need it, was a dive pass.
Yeah.
What we're going to do here, I'm going to put this up real quick. You don't get that long a fake, just a real quick fake past the quarterback. We got a left-hand quarterback, so we're going to go dive left. He's just going to put the ball here, take a step back. He's going right down the middle. We call this dive pass left, double banana. These guys run banana routes to pull the safety out. He'll run a banana route, same thing. Corner was ever there. And then we'll usually run some kind of motion to just get that guy out of the backfield. And he's gonna turn and just kind of go right by, because all you have to do is get one step out of the linebacker. Just get one step out of the linebacker, you blow right by him. You don't want such a great fake. The guy tackles the guy, so I call it a shitty fake and a nice dog poop fake. How's that better? All right, this is a big play too. When we use it, we made big plays. Right down the middle, there's no one there. Sometimes there'll be a linebacker trailing him. And you can see that we got a double banana route by the ends. We did it off a long motion. And I think the next play literally won us the state championship, I think, because the momentum is shifting against Hill City, and we had a 2nd and 15 down around our 5-yard line, and he floated that ball right in there. That's the guy that went off sides on punt return.
The backer
What?
gets the backer just a step.
Yeah, if you go back, watch the backer. We just get him for one step up, and then boom, we're going by him. And we just call that dive pass deep. Pretty simple play to get in, double banana. Okay, the next thing's really going to get you, because we made a living out of this, and you can only run this play if you do not block anybody on the line of scrimmage. And you're thinking, what the hell are they doing? We're not going to block anybody on the line of scrimmage. Let them in. If they want to get in the gaps, let them in. That end wants a pinch and go through B, let them in, because we're not going to be there. Watch these 3 down linemen. Don't look for the ball. Watch the 3 down linemen first. All right, go ahead, Coach. There, boom. Did we let him in? Yeah, run right by him. Now, what do we got? We got 7 on 5. We call this, the quarterback in New Jersey goes, Coach, what are we going to call this? So I said, it's all about you. I said, LSU. How's that? We'll call it LSU. And I was looking at it. It's your play, LSU. And every time we called it, I'm like, LSU? Got to give him that little look. We had a real good kid in Jersey that had a lot of speed. Now you can see here, we just let the guys in. We ripped the guards by, and you can't run it if there's a nose man, but if they put him in the gap, you can run it. Double A gaps, we run it all the time. He's in a gap right there. Now, if you got a slow the state championship quarterback, we didn't run that. He didn't have that kind of mobility. This is a point guard in basketball. He's got good sense. Austin Clumpy, all-state basketball guy. He was good at it. Henry Ott was good at it. Here, I think we're going to let 4 in. And what's it do with these guys too? Later on in the game, they're thinking, hey, I get in there. Now what do? You take their charge away from them a little bit, and then you start pounding them.
Left guard did it.
What?
Your left guard did a good job there, coach.
Left guard ripped right through there. Then we got Henriot, a couple of them. Here's 4 guys coming in. All right, go to the next one, Coach. I think he scored 13 or 14 touchdowns on quarterback sneaks. So if you got a shake and bake quarterback and tell the center to get his ass out of the way, you can run this. Next play, Coach. Here's a little Henriot, real fast guy. State champion in the javelin. And then the last one's pretty neat because I think, what they got, 6 or 5? All of them our guard got blown up. He couldn't get through. I think this is touchdown. So we call that LSU and just let them come in. We did that in 11-man too all the time because we ran our pulling guards and the wing T offense and get people in A gap trying to blow through there to screw up our guards, and that's how we came up with the play. Okay, I got 2 things left. 3 things real quick. We got Green Bay. This is a play we practice every Thursday. Never ran it I've never ran it, but I always had it ready. We call it Green Bay because of Vince Lombardi, but there's about 8 to 10 seconds on the clock. They're punting the ball out of the end zone. We go to Green Bay where we're going to rush 2, and I take my 6 best ball handlers or catchers of punts. We're going to go for a fair catch, and now we have a decision. Do we go for the Hail Mary, or do we kick a field goal and win the game? We get a free kick. So we bring our kickoff team out, we tee the ball up, we back up. If we kick it through, we get 3 points and we win the ball game. My teams were never in that situation before the half and before the end of the game to use this, but we always had it ready. It was the last thing we practiced on Tuesday was Green Bay, just to always have that in our pocket. And I think there's some coaches that don't know that you get a free kick off a fair catch and you can score points. Cowboy or cornerstone. Kind of show it up here real quick, Coach. These guys are getting hungry, I think. From going against a bunch of wing T teams in New Jersey, we always had trouble with a wing end combination. So back in Jersey, I got sick of like getting the end beat up by the double team and then having your corner, which is maybe up here 3 and 3, coming up and like taking on the lead blocker. Fullback that's running full speed is going to handle them. Guard coming down the line is going to probably handle your corner, and they get a seam in there. So we started going cover 2 or 3 with 11-man, but we'd go cover 2 and 8-man and roll the corner up right here. And if Coach was the wing back, face in here a little bit, right there. He's the wing back, and here's the tight end. I'm just going to squat on him, and we're going to do this on the snap. I'm going to come here and kind of almost play defensive end on him. Protect my outside arm and jam him down, and don't let him on the end. Let the end play football. Now, there's 2 rules. Number 1, this guy can't release in here quickly. That can't happen, or you're going to put us in trouble. And he can't get down on the end. I'm still in coverage right here. I'm still got flat coverage. So if he releases to the flat across my face, I just follow him to the flat. And through the years, people have tried to do that. We follow him to the flat. They think they're going to get the ball to him quick. And in 11-man, we caught a touchdown. And in 8-man, we scored a touchdown off of that quick release. We call that corner zone. And if you get a scout report where they're double teaming that end a ton, instead of leaving your guy there to be kicked out, put him up there to work taking care of the end. The next one is called Cowboy. It's in our man coverage. We got man coverage here. And what we see all the time, when we get in man coverage, we used to always bring 4. Okay, sometimes you can free this guy up, play the quarterback's eyes, play him deep. But we like to say, if we're going to be a man, we want to put pressure on the quarterback. But this tight end would stay in and block, so they had an extra guy to block the linebacker. So basically what happens is this tight end right here occupies 2 guys. He occupies your end and he occupies your corner, because your corner just stands there and he's not releasing, he's blocking. So we call Cowboy, put him on a man-to-man, and bring him off the corner for the sack. So instead of him standing there doing nothing, he's kind of cheating up, snapping the ball, he's coming off the corner, and that defensive end, we've ran this a lot, never got burned on it once. I think they released the end one time. He jogged down the field. I don't even know if he was supposed to be releasing. But we would call this Jayhawk. Jayhawk was our man coverage. And then we would go Jayhawk, Cowboy. It's 12 o'clock. I might use Green Bay today. Has anybody got a question or anything? I hope you grab something you can. Oh, yeah. One other thing. I handed out those handouts. I wanted to say 1 or 2 things on the handouts. That first one, if I could hold yours up, if you don't mind. This first one, when it says Casey on it, that's a game report that I would hand out when I was doing junior high about 3 years ago. And in the front, they would get total plays. They would get a percentage on their blocking. First hit, first guy to make contact with the running back. Second hit, someone had helped out. And then on the back side, we put our stats in a little bit. We opened up a Burlingame about 4 years ago. Had a pretty good game. The biggest thing I like on here is strips. We had 2 strips in junior high where kids reached in and ripped the ball out. And we would start practice each day with strip drills and start practice with ball security drills. If you're not doing strip drills, you're way behind the time. Get with someone that knows how to set up some strip drills, start ripping that ball out. And then down here, we'll give a little personal report card to the young guy, try to stay positive in there a little bit. And the junior high kids, or any kid, they love stuff like this. They take it home, their parents like it. It's a kind of a good little PR thing. Varsity, we had game reports like this. This was that Lebo game that you could see on the film. It was a little muddy. Next week after this, we were playing Hill City. I played linebacker in college, and I thought, they gave a tackle chart, and that was about it. You first hit, second hit, unassisted. I like a defensive point system where you get 3 for a first hit, 1 for a second hit, 4 for a specialty team hit, 5 for a sack, 10 for a fumble, 10 for interception, block kick, pass deflection, strip. And so then we have Shane Ballard. In that Lebo game, he had 27 defensive points, and he has 149 for the season. And when you put that together, kids see that. Hey, I'm in second place. I got to get some points. I got to get some turnovers. I got to do something to get up on a list. Okay? Everybody wants to be up there. The other thing I'm very proud of on here is if you add up the interceptions and fumbles, I think it comes to 43. And we turned the ball over 3 times that year. In the Hill City game, we got a big fumble from Reggie Jordan. The first time he ran the ball, we ripped it out. And that set the tone for the game a little bit. And then late in the game, we got an interception. And without those 2 turnovers, we're not state champs, I don't think. So turnovers is the key. I had the pleasure the last couple of years of doing play-by-play for Emporia State football. And Greg Ray, a great announcer, every time, Coach, what's 3 things Emporia State's got to do to win this game today? I said, Greg, number 1 is always going to be number 1. Win the turnover battle. He asked me game 2, win the turnover battle. Then I come up with, I changed 2 and 3 a little bit on some other ideas. But if you win the turnover battle, you're probably going to win the game. But you got to work at it. You got to do ball security. You got to do ball rips. The one thing you get most often, I think, is if you can get to the back of the ball in the armpit. I own the ball right now. I don't care how hard he squeezes. If I rip, it's coming out. Now, you can punch sometimes and not get it. Or you can, I call it punch, pop, and rip. So our punch is we're coming over here, and Steve got a big one when we played Osborne up there, right, on the 1 yard line. I'm sure you remember that. I asked him, I said, is that a big play? Coach, that was the biggest play of the year. We were going in for a touchdown, and his all-state safety, boom, on the 1 yard line. That was bad. So anyways, that's punch. Coming over here from this side, we just call this pop right there. And then I usually have 2 guys right here beside each other. He tries to break through us. While we both tie him up, he's going to rip it out. Usually you need help. It's 2 or 3 guys to rip that ball out. One other thing on here I think is really helpful. Dougie Parcells, brother of the famous Bill Parcells, introduced me to blocking percentages. And if you do blocking percentages on every play, the offensive line responds to that. Believe me. The other thing I started doing was backfield blocks, and a real good one that should be on here that I added later was quarterback fakes, plus or minus. You know, you get tired of your quarterback not running the boot fake all the way out, minus right there, minus right there. You want to fix it? Run to the line of scrimmage. Okay. I think that's about it, guys.
Very good, thank you. That was very good. How many years have you coached?
I've been coaching football since 1971. How many is that? I don't even know how many that is.
That's a while. Lots of knowledge right there. You young guys, and I always say that these clinics, and it sounds a little corny, but it is true, is you could be home mowing your yard or playing with your dog or whatever you do. But coming to a deal like this, that's, how many years, say 52? 52 years of knowledge coming at you right there. I mean, that's, and I'm sure, I know him well enough, I'm sure he could talk a lot longer, but that's very good stuff. We will, I smell it, I think, go eat pizza, and then Coach Engelken will go, we'll try to start at 1:30, what time is it? Okay. In the back, my old buddy Russ Haag from BSN Sports. I'll let him talk right before we get going with Mitch. He's going to have a drawing or something back there. I'll let him talk. He's got to go to a wedding, so he won't be here very long, but we'll go from there. So the pizza's right outside that door. Have at her. I told you guys I knew a little bit about all of our speakers today, so that's kind of fun for me, maybe not for them. Mitch here, I coached him till his junior year of high school. I mean, I had him in PE when he was that big, when we were at Baileyville. And like a bright guy, left after his junior year. Probably one of the best teams we were going to have was that his senior year. So I make a wise decision to move then. Let's get out while we can. So I left. I went to Osborne. But anyway, yeah, we had some success while he was playing. Then he went to college. I had enough of Osborne, so I left there, which was another great move. 2 years later, they won the state championship. And I went to Solomon, and he graduated from college and came to Solomon and coached with me for, how long were we there? 3 years. 3 years at Solomon. Then he went to Axtell. I like the move, I guess. I went back to Osborne, and it's funny that next year, that's who we played for state championship. It was Osborne against Axtell. He was coaching on one sideline and I was on the other. Then after that year, he left Axtell and came to Osborne and coached for a year, and now he's at Stafford. And it did it. I'm sure he'll tell you that, but you can read on that. But had a very, very successful season. Somewhere I misled him, though. I'm not sure where. For the fact, and he'll think this is funnier than you guys probably will, but you remember that year we were getting ready for playoffs, and like our last 2 district games were canceled for whatever reason. I don't remember why, but maybe it was, one of them was a district game, one of them wasn't. Got canceled, so we had 3 weeks of practice. And I said, boys, we're going to become air tiernan. We're going to throw the ball. We're going to work on passing for 3 weeks, and we're going to go throw the ball, air it out a little bit. And we get that first round of playoffs. We're going in at halftime. Quarterback comes up to me and says, Coach, I thought we were going to throw the ball. And my stat guy happened to be right there. I said, how many times did you pass that first half? He looks at it and goes, twice? Well, what do you want? I mean, that's all. Somewhere Mitch has been misled because he does like to throw the ball. And I gave him a hard time about that, but he did tell me that you ran it more than you threw it. But whatever it did, it worked. So I'll turn it over to you.
So first, I'll try and get it. I got my HDMI in there. Coach, which one's the show?
I don't know.
Okay. So first, I'll just get started. I'll say I've never done one of these, so bear with me. I'm the opposite of Coach McClain. I'm just getting into football, barely, or I guess you could say. But anyway, so we'll talk Trojan offensive philosophy and pass game. So I'll talk about my approach and philosophy into offense, and then get into the passing game itself. We'll look at Coach Tiernan's favorite things and pass concepts and how we read them and how we teach them. All right, louder. And so, for those who don't know me, I'm Mitch Engelken. Like Coach said, I went to junior high and high school, Baileyville B&B High School, graduated spring of 2012. Had a lot of success. Was lucky enough to be a part of some really good teams, great coaches, great community. Got the chance to play JUCO at Highland Community College. So that's where I really got out of my comfort zone. Like Coach Tiernan was saying, he don't like to throw the ball much. So when I went to JUCO, I didn't know much as far as pass concepts go, and I played slot receiver, so I had to learn it from the ground up, I guess you could say. And so I learned a lot there, and that's kind of stuck with me. So maybe that's where I drifted off onto the passing side a little bit. But from there, like Coach said also, I went to Solomon. I finished up, graduated at Highland, went to K-State. Wasn't even finished yet at K-State, and called Coach Tiernan and said, you got any? Basically, I needed hours to get started, to get finished with my degree through K-State. Ended up coaching with him for 3 years at Solomon. Then went back home to Axtell, which that's not where I'm from, Baileyville, but they were a rival. It was the only hometown, I guess you could say. So I coached under Coach Detweiler there for 2. Got a chance to be the junior high head coach, and then went under Coach Tiernan again for 1 more year at Osborne before taking the job last year at Stafford. All right, so a little review of, does this thing work?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? I mean,
Can you guys hear back there?
hear me? Okay. All right, so just a little review statistics-wise and some accomplishments from our team this year. We did pass the ball a decent amount, 201 times. Not as efficient as we'd like to be as far as completion percentage goes, but when we did complete it, we were very efficient, nearly 2,000 yards passing, over 200 yards per game, 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Rushing stats, we carried it 344 times, over 2,000 yards, over 250 yards per game, 30 touchdowns, 3 fumbles. So offensive average of 456 yards a game, which came out to be 45 points a game. Highest total offense in school history, alongside many other team accomplishments. I'll go through them, I guess, real fast. First undefeated regular season since 1950. First ever league football title, first ever district title, first postseason berth in over 4 years. So the kids this year had never even seen a playoff game outside of when they were in 7th grade. They watched in a road game that Stafford played in and lost. Hosted our 2nd home playoff game ever, and probably my proudest stat here for our team. And not to say that no coach wants to be behind in a game, but we trailed in 5 out of our 8 wins. And so it was just great leadership by the seniors who had bought in and wanted that change. And we overcame deficits of 10 points or more in the second half of 4 of those games. All right, so little accomplishments there. Through this slide in here, just go ahead and feel free to ask questions as we go. I think it'll be easier rather than a bunch of questions at the end. I'll forget. So my mindset and approach to offense. So our goal overall every play is to take what the defense gives us. And how do we do that? First, create favorable matchups. So with different formations, different motion, different play concepts, and also different personnel moving guys around within the formations. Next, we want to find and attack open space. And I know a lot of spread coaches say that. They want to get the ball out in space, get it to my guy, let him make plays. And how we do that, we use pre- and post-snap reads, as well as hand signals. So we are no huddle, 95% probably nonverbal, other than the only thing that we verbalize is our formation call. And I was talking to Coach Hoppus not long ago, a couple nights ago, and he said the same thing last year. We don't have a better way to do it yet. So everything is hand signals other than our formation. And then the last out of what we want to do to take what the defense gives us, last and least, is we want to develop a player balance. And what I mean by that is kind of like what Coach McClain was saying earlier. Use your tight end to carry the ball. If he's a good athlete, find a way to get him the ball. And so we want to spread the ball around, find as many guys who can contribute offensively as we can. All right, and then Coach Leach here, a little quote from him to kind of reiterate that fact. Coach Leach said, "A balanced offense is one where each skill position touches the ball and every position contributes to the offensive output. There's nothing balanced about running it 50% of the time and throwing it 50% of the time if you only utilize 2 or 3 offensive skill positions and only attack part of the field." And so a little example of our balance this year, we had 3 ball carriers over 440 yards rushing. Each had at least 4 touchdowns. Then we had 3 receivers at least. These are all 6 different kids. We had 3 receivers who were all at least over 24 catches. Each all had 4 touchdowns. Each all had over 300 yards receiving. And the great thing about this was these kids loved it. They wanted to, not to say, and I'm not trying to bash the previous coach at all. He's a great guy. I get along with him great. But these kids loved the change. They wanted to do more. Like a tight end. Our tight end was our second leading receiver, and he had caught the ball like 5 times in his career up until his senior year. And then he had 25 for us this year. But anyways, again, that is our least of our worries, but it is something we'll watch after the game's obviously over. We'll look at the stats, and if Jimmy had 2 catches for 100 yards, well, we ought to probably give him the ball more. Give him 3, 4 catches, see what else he could do with it. All right, so that's what we mean by developing player balance. Moving on, so offensive philosophy and my approach to the passing game. So we are concept-based. Well, we're concept-based in the run game as well, but let me know if I'm going too fast. Again, this is the first time getting through the nerves. But anyways, we are concept-based. So I use a combination of a West Coast and an R3 approach. For those of you guys that use the R4 system, Dubmatics, rhythm, read, rush, and release. We don't do the rush and release. I teach our kids rhythm, read, and run. And what that means is when we go through our progression, we have a rhythm throw first, then we have a read throws. If they're not open, take off running. Pretty simple. And I thought it fit a little bit easier with our quarterback this year, who, again, he was a 4-year starter this year, but he had only thrown the ball, I don't know how many times. I have to look at the stats, but he had like 800 yards passing in 3 years as a starter, and this year he had 1,800. And then back to the West Coast approach, deep to short. So we want to look at our deep throws first and work down for multiple reasons. I mean, obviously, most coaches that, at least from what we came from and what I know, you're teaching to stay over top. Take away the deep threat. You know, if they throw it underneath, that's fine. So we look deep first. The other reason for that is arm strength. You know, we don't want to progress, and the last throw in our progression is the deep throw, because then he's 30 yards downfield. This year, our quarterback probably would have gotten away with it a few times because he did have good arm strength. But anyways, so that's our approach there. We are majority 2 to 3 man concepts, and traditional air raid and run and shoot concepts is what I use. The reason I like the concept-based system so much is because of the adaptability of it. So we'll move guys around, like I said, within our formations and motion and just different personnel in different positions, but we can still run the same play. And we can still run the same play or concept out of every formation. All right, and then a little coaching point that I tell our kids every day. So unlike Coach Tiernan, we start with the first 25, 30 minutes. we'll do our individual passing game drills. And so I'll take backs and receivers. We only had 16 players this year, so I had about 8 or 9 with me and 1 quarterback, and then the rest went to the O-line coaches. But I'll tell them every year, every day, execute your route correctly, run it as hard as you can, and you're going to be open. And whether that's true or not, oh well, we believe it, and they believe it, they execute it right. And we got lines going, so they'll execute their route, sprint, and then hustle back, and then they'll wait in line and go again. We'll go over and over. And then again, Coach Leach kind of reiterating that statement there. Coach Leach said, throw the ball where they're not. The execution of this requires lots of practice time. However, the space itself is always there, and it's impossible for the defense to always have it covered. All right. Moving on. So here I put some extra notes in here, but I'll get to that in a second. So positions and formations. So our positions are pretty similar to probably most coaches, not much different than most coaches do. Again, very similar to what Canton Galva does with the adjuster, is what we did, except for we have a little more. I was talking to Coach Shelby the other night. We have a couple more spots within our adjuster, but so we use a lot of word and letter association to just create simple and easy play calls, just to make it easier for them to understand. All right, so we have our Y, we have our X, we have our F. Our fullback is what we call the F. It's not a traditional fullback. But he's got a full workload. That's what I say. So he could be a wide receiver, he could be a slot, a wing, tracer, sniffer back, a true fullback offset on both sides of the ball, 10 spots. So when we call Sally, let me go back to my notes. When we call Sally, again, letter and word association, so Sally means a lot of things. It means first S, split. So it means split Y left because L in Sally. So there's the letter association for left. So the Y is to the call side. So Sally means split Y left. X is automatically opposite of the Y. So split Y left, X right. F is in the 3 position with the 3 there. So there's Sally 3. And again, we can run Sally 10 different ways, 0 through 9. So we can move guys around wherever we want. We also have tags to pull the X off, put the F on, pull the Y off, put the F on, stuff like that as well. And then they're here down at the bottom. We were predominantly a single back spread pistol. If somebody wanted to identify what actually offensively we do, we were in the true pistol 2 to 3 yards behind our quarterback probably 99% of the time. And no reason other than I liked it. That's what we used when I was in college, and I liked it there too. So, all right, moving on. Pass protection. So again, word and letter associations. So in this case, if we call maroon for our O-line, to simplify it, it means max right. So MAR, max right. But it tells our guys a lot of things. First off, it tells quarterback play action right, and he's going to progress right to left within the concept because there's an R in maroon. All right, so he's going to take the traditional Chris Alt snatch technique, even on our play action, open up right, and he's going to progress right to left depending on what the concept is. He knows based off of what call we made, what signal we called in. Tells our O-line max slide protect right in this case, and also doubles are watching for blitzers. So in this case, a 3-man front, our left guard and our center. Our center, he's not supposed to slide to nobody, even though on film I'm sure they did sometimes this year. But they're supposed to double, and now if a secondary defender or linebacker does blitz or bites on the play action and comes into the backfield, we have a you-me call. We can release and pick them up. All right, and then the last thing here, it tells the running back play action right, and he's going to protect and seal off the backside. The reason I originally wanted to go maroon is play action right, and the back would block here. O-line would slide opposite. And then I remembered O-linemen aren't the smartest, so we flipped it because I'd rather have one guy be responsible for backside than 3 guys be responsible for flipping it left to right based off of our call. And so that's what we did. So this is what we did. All right, so pass concepts. We have a lot, way more than Coach Tiernan. We have about 6 to 10 drop back and 6 to 10 quick game with variations of each. So we have a lot. But our kids never once told me hey coach, we got too much, because we repped it every day, every single day. All right, so we'll look at the highlighted ones. We'll look at our deep choice concept, which is go, or what we call go. We'll look at our mesh post, which we call mesh post. We have 4 variations of mesh, rail, whip, and corner. But anyways, and then quick game, we'll look at curl flat, stick variation, and then all slants. So we'll start with drop back concepts. Looking at go, so let me pause this again. So go, Again, this is my own 8-man interpretation of the run and shoot go concept, true choice concepts, or true choice routes. So we've got our streak reads on the outside and a seam read on the inside. And we'll read here. Let me go to my notes again. So our quarterback is pre-snap read and BDL. That's what we teach. Box, depth, leverage. So first he's looking at the box count. In this case, if we called maroon, we have a 3-man line and a back staying in, so we have a 4-man protection against a 5-man box, so we know we're outnumbered. So he's reading box first. He's going to ID the linebackers. Do we think somebody's blitzing? Of course, in our scouting report and watching on film from either the week before or the year before, we'll know if this coach is very aggressive or not, if they're going to bring blitz. All right, but that's how we're reading here. Next, after he IDs the box, again, we have all the extra time because we don't huddle. So we call the signals, we signal the play, we look at the defense while they get aligned to us, and then we go. But here, so next, after box, he's looking at depth of DBs, and our receivers are reading depth as well. All right, so what I mean by depth here is, in this case, or this particular example is not very good, but if this corner is 5, 6, 7 plus yards off on our streak read, he has 2 options, a go or a hitch. So if he's playing 6 yards off, pre-snap, we're thinking, okay, he's taking away the go. So be ready for the hitch. We have the option. Pre-snap doesn't mean that's what we're doing, but post-snap we'll read the hips. All right, here on the seam read, same thing. Pre-snap, safety's in the middle of the field, taking away middle of the field, probably not going to run the post. That's our guess, pre-snap. Post-snap, though, again, we're reading hips, and I'll show you that on film here in a second. My last note here, vertical deep choice. So yes, we do. We want to go down the field. We're trying to attack vertical, back the defense off, or create an explosive play down the field. But like I said, we go back to take what the defense gives us. If they take away the vertical threat, we'll throw it underneath and take what's underneath. All right, I'll show you some film here. Okay, so this is the first game of the year, so take it with a grain of salt. There was some fixable points for sure. So pre-snap here, we're in a twin set. Twins out there. Tight end is actually locking on the backside. Our back does run out here too as well. But pre-snap with the just overhead look here. So pre-snap, it looks like cover 3 or off-man coverage, but we're at the 21-yard line, so we're guessing probably man. Let me run it through. There's our seam read and our go hitch on the outside with our streak read. I'll run it back. You can see the quarterback, and I'll talk about that too here in a minute. He takes a 5-step drop, so he gets way too deep on this and actually hits him in the back of the end zone. We almost ran out of time and space. But correct read all around. Our slot did it exactly how he's supposed to. He pressed vertical on the outside of this safety. The safety stays flat-footed, never opens his hips, so we take the middle of the field wide open. And on the outside, he's staying way off, so we end up running a hitch on the outside because he's staying over top. All right, end zone cam's a little better. So again, they're all head-up leverage, so we expected man-to-man on all 3 of our receivers. And again, they're in the red zone, so it's probably more man-to-man. So our slot here, again, is pushing vertical. We want to get him to open his hips and stay over top, take away the seam. If he takes away the seam, we're taking the post. Pre-snap, you see the middle of the field's wide open anyways because of the alignment of this safety. All right, there you go. DB's hips are still open. We take the middle. Again, also, he hasn't even turned. He's still backpedaling. So, oops. So we take the middle, and that's the right read, right play. Again, though, our footwork is off, and we hit him late, a little too late. Yeah, there you go. Fixable points. Quarterback a little deep on his drop, and we worked on it. We made some changes to fix the footwork. I didn't play quarterback in college or ever, so I've learned a lot from my buddy who did play quarterback with me at college. Stole some ideas from him. All right, so next clip. This is week 2. We see 2 high safeties pre-snap, so we expect cover 2. We make a call to read the twin side first because, again, we want to go down the field. If they're splitting the back half of the field in half with two safeties, we know we got a 2-on-1 situation up here. All right? So we're going left to right here. Open left, play action. You can see right away the play action gets the safety to bite. And the seam's wide open. I don't know, I'll show you. So again, this was our slide protection. So that's I think That's what's throwing some of these DBs and linebackers off is we kind of slide right. In this case, we were supposed to slide left, but if you notice, there's no D end here. He was pressing on top of our slot to try to slow him down. And yeah, so he bites on the play action in the backfield. Our slot's wide open. Again, timing was a little underthrown. He was still too deep on his drop. Show you the end zone cam. Yeah, so it becomes a double team, or yeah, our left guard fires into the nose. And maybe that's what he saw, and then we play action this way. It looks just like our inside zone run scheme is what it looks like, which we run a lot of. And so that might have been what got him to bite. And this receiver right here, he's going to McPherson next year. He was a 3-year backup quarterback. This is his first year ever playing varsity offense. 1,000-yard receiver for us. So he made a lot of plays this year. Great kid. Just he had never gotten the chance to play receiver in the previous offense because they didn't really throw the ball. But all right, next clip. Okay, so again, to fix the footwork of our quarterback, like I said, I didn't know much about coaching a quarterback. But what we did was I found out that he was getting so confused. I was saying 1-step, 3-step, 5-step drop, or whatever I was saying. And he was more worried about, okay, did I get my 3-step? Did I get my 5-step? He was more worried about getting to the right number of steps than he was post-snap the reads. And so it was slowing him down. So what I did was I went to some online coaching seminar, a quarterback's coach in college. He said one thing we worked on was catch, balance, throw, or CBT. And so all it is, self-explanatory, catch the ball, get your balance as quickly as you can, as few steps as you can, and throw it, get the ball out. So we did that, and it was a night and day difference, and you'll see it here on film for our quarterback. So he quit worrying about how deep I wanted him and how many steps I told him, and he got the ball out. All right, so pre-snap here on this play, though. This is Kinsley, last game of the year. They're a 6-man box because we were running the ball fairly well. And so they loaded the box. So we know we got one-on-one matchups on the outside. So we're going to take what they give us. My other note here, again, okay, yeah. So the sideline cam, you can't even see the DB over there. So pre-snap, that's a pretty good indicator that it's probably going to be a hitch on our streak read if he's playing that far off. So quarterback catch, balance, throw, gets it out on time, an easy hitch. No way the DB was going to get on.
They just have to be on the same page. There's not like a hand signal or anything.
Exactly. So here, and this is go. This is called go. So both of these guys are running the streak reads. That's it. We have a 2-man concept. Tight end stand in to block. DB's hips are already turned, so that's our quarterback's read. So we're going, this is metallic or max left, play action left, but they don't all slide left because we have an extra blocker on the right, so they kind of just manned up with the first threat. Now here, quarterback's reading hips, so is the receiver. He turned, so we're going to sit it down. That's it. I'd love to add a third and say, hey, run the post, but it takes a little time, so this is what we got for this year. But again, watch the quarterback's footwork. Catch, balance, throw. The timing was perfect, so much better. All right, and then the good thing about this, when we have 2 options, a couple plays later, they still have 6 in the box, but now look, the DB's moved up. They're within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage, so we know now, pre-snap, it looks like, okay, we got a good chance on our streaks because we know where we're going, they don't know where we're going. So quarterback, now we're going maroon again. Catch, balance, throw. Burns him for a touchdown. We were winning 16-0 in this game, and then they scored 28 straight on us, and then we scored like 24 straight to finish. They're going to be really good next year. They didn't lose a single guy. So one more time here. Watch our footwork. Catch, balance, throw. Without even knowing it, perfect 3-step drop and throw on the rhythm, and where nobody else could get it. And how we teach that, I'll show you on the end zone cam. How we teach our streak reads or our go is, again, we're reading hips, but also it's the old school, if he's even, he's leaving. So if we can physically reach out and touch this defender, then we're going. We're going. And the quarterback knows that. And again, here's maroon go. So he's reading right to left. So he didn't even get to his second read because we didn't need to. He threw his first. Kind of like Hendon Hooker got drafted to the Lions. Everybody, all the scouts are saying, can he read a defense? Well, he was always throwing to his open first read. Because Tennessee, that's what they do, is all them choice routes. So, but here, one more look at it. Catch, balance, throw. Should have been a pass interference on the other side, but it didn't matter. Okay. All right, next one we'll look at our mesh post concept. So again, like I said, we run like 4 variations of mesh, but we'll just look at mesh post today. So for mesh post, our number 1's running a post, and then we have a double shallow settle option versus zone by our number 2 and our 3. So how I teach it, we go 3 to 4 yards, aiming for the heels of the linebackers and across the field. Excuse me. So our F here would be, he's the number 2 in the play, so he's going to set the mesh. He's also off the line, so he's going to run the shallower mesh. The Y is going to clear the mesh at 3 to 4 yards also, but again, it's going to be evened out. We run a mesh drill every day, first thing, and they'll run through and they hit hands. The old school Mike Leach true mesh drill, where they hit hands as they go through the mesh. All right, and then we can also tag our back to run a shoot route. And what I mean by shallow settle versus zone is, again, we're going to take what the defense gives us. If they're running a true cover 3, 3-2 zone, and these backers are flat defenders, if he drops to the flat to take away the back, our tight end is not going to run into the flat. He's going to hitch it up, first open window past the center. All right, but we did not see a lot of zone this year. We saw a lot of man, 95% plus, I would say. So we didn't settle much, but it is something we practice still. So again, to be able to take what the defense gives us on every pass play. And then there we go, mesh concept. We still attack vertically, yes. So we still have a vertical attack, but we want to get the playmakers open, so this is how we can do it. And we still take what the defense gives us, having the option to sit down versus zone. And then here is just the progression. So again, this would be maroon, 1, 2, 3, or we have a check down, automatic check down to the back if we tag him to go out.
Coach, I got a question.
Yep.
Would you rather attack a zone defense or a man defense?
Me, man, definitely. Because again, it goes back to, we know where we're going, we trust our guys, they know what they're doing, the defense doesn't. And that's the idea of, we run a lot of different pass concepts, so by mixing it up enough, it's hard to hopefully get a tendency. Only one of our district opponents is in here, so that's a good thing. But anyways, yeah. So I would rather go against man, yeah. But again, we'll take the underneath stuff against zone anyway, so we'll take what the defense is giving us every time. Good question. All right, so here's mesh post. Again, this is the first game of the year, so take it with a grain of salt. No back tagged out on a shoot here. I'll let it run through again. So our quarterback, again, this is before we made the change. He takes a 5-step on a 3-step drop, what was supposed to be a 3-step. So we hit him barely in the back of the end zone for the touchdown. So here, and our mesh could have been a little tighter right there. I'll show you here from the end zone cam, it's a little better. Okay, so again, we have head up, leverage, so we expect man, plus again, we're in the red zone, so it's probably man. So the first read for our quarterback is the safety. Because if we expect that it could be zone, and he drops the middle, deep middle, then that's going to take away the post, so he knows he's going to go for one of the underneath throws. In this case, he sees the safety right away, follows our slot across the field, so we know there's no safety in the middle of the field open on the post, so he doesn't get to his second read, he gets the post. He never gets down to, his second read would have been that tight end out here, but he never got to it. One more time, I'll show you. Oops. So there you go, there's one look at mesh post. Here, hold on, let me go back to my first note. Okay, so this goes back to our formations and our adjuster positions. So now our F is in the 1 position, which is the far outside wide receiver, and we have our X inside of him. So it's almost a stack, not necessarily a stack. We do stack, but here we didn't. So now, right now, if we called this play, if we said down, set, hard, if we clapped and snapped the ball here, number 1 is running a post. Number 2 is going to set the mesh. Y on the backside is clearing it. And this time we have our back running a shoot. But now we motion a guy. Oops. So we motion a guy, and this is what I mean by all our guys know where they're at, and they know what to run based off of where they're at. So now he becomes the number 2 receiver. He's setting the mesh. He's clearing it. He's running the post. Back still shooting on a check down. All right, and again, we knew this team was fairly aggressive. All of their guys are aggressive. Probably should have had more penalties in this game, to be honest. But anyways, this guy blitzed, so our quarterback sees it immediately with the 3-man protection to dump it down on the check down. And I told our quarterback that all year. One thing I do know about passing is the running back is the most unguarded player on the field. And so I told him that all year long, and there was so many times we ran this play, and he was wide open, and we didn't throw it to him. He threw it to somebody else. But again, it was his first year. So after the motion, again, he's going to set it. He's clearing it. He's running the post. He's supposed to read rhythm throw post first and then come down to the clear. But with this linebacker right in his face, he knows to dump it. He knows to dump it to the check down right away. And we ran this play like 5 times in this game. Only once did he throw it to the back. Okay, some quick game concepts. How am I doing for time here? Doing all right? Okay, so quick game, curl flat, which is a stick variation. So first, curl by number 1, and he can run a true curl, or we can run an in-breaking slant or a snag like this with a flat route or outside release, speed out, shoot route flat by our number 2, and then we'll tag anything on the backside for our number 3. So it's just a 2-man concept, but we can put a third with what we see over here on the backside. So again, yep, stick variation, picking on the flat defender against zone or creating a rub action against man. Usually more of a zone quick game play for us. Yeah, so again, if it's a 3-2 cover 3 and we know this backer is the flat defender, we'll push our F deep, pull off the corner, and now this linebacker, and then he's going to hitch it up there. Now this linebacker's got to decide, am I covering the hitch or am I going to get all the way out there to the flat? And then also if it's man, if it's truly man, this safety's going to come down on the Y. There's no way he's getting there in time. So this was a pretty good one for us. Again, okay, and then I put tight end outside release, fastest release. We do this for multiple reasons also. So most, as you guys know, most DNs are taught you're getting hooked. If they outside release, you fight outside, don't get hooked, right? And so by doing that, we slow them down, we give our guard time. We also know we're not going right into the path of our potential defender. We're going outside as fast as we can, fastest release to the sideline. And there's no way he's getting there into his zone quick enough. One more time and I'll show you the end zone. And in South Barber, this is South Barber, they mixed up coverages a lot. So here they're running zone on this side and they're manned up on our number 1 receiver, who was our 1,000-yard receiver over here. So they mixed it up a lot, but we knew, if again, going back to trying to create that player balance, if they're going to take away our number 1 guy, he had 2 catches for like 30 yards and a touchdown in this game. These guys had way better games. But we knew if they're going to do that, we'll do some 2-man action with these guys. Again, we want to find multiple guys to contribute offensively. All right, so against zone, if linebacker takes away curl, we throw the flat. If linebacker sprints to the flat, we throw the curl. All right, so we're reading curl to flat, and then obviously if the flat's taken away, we'll even work back inside the curl, but then take off running if nothing's open. And I don't know, maybe this play side linebacker here hesitated with the play action and our quarterback opening to the right side here. That's potentially, it could have been the case, I don't know. But so there we go, and a nice play by our big tight end, which unfortunately we're gonna miss him next year. We'll miss a lot of these guys, but okay, so same play now out of a different formation. Again, going back to we can run every concept out of every formation. In this case, our tight end is now split. We have our F, who was a wide receiver, now he's a wing. All right, curl, and then in this case, we're expecting man. Again, these guys are head-up leverage on all of our guys. So we expect it to be man, and Kinsley, we know, scouting them, they run a lot of man. And so in this case, he is going to try to post up this linebacker as well, try to create that rub action on our curl flat. And he does. He kind of got him, but number 8 for Kinsley got over top enough that we were able to work back inside. We went curl to flat, back to curl. And then tight end makes a play, gets a couple extra yardage, a couple yards. Here you can see it a little better. So another thing about this is we run so many concepts as well, like I said earlier, that our tight end has ran crossers. He's ran mesh crossers. He's ran a true Y cross. He'll even run down the field or run hitches as well. And so this number 2, even though he's manned on, he's got to honor him by selling this slant pattern. That creates that separation also for allowing us to go curl to flat, back to curl, and still make a play and get some good yardage. Okay, last quick game concept, and then I'll show you guys some practice clips if I still have time. So this is not one we ran as much towards the second half of the season, But here, I'll just read my note. Usually more of a man, quick game play for us, but it can work against both man and zone. We did use it against both man and zone. And it's all it is all slants. If we suspect man coverage, or they're taking away the flats, or we see that short middle area of the field open, that's when we might call a slant. I mean, if they're giving us this middle area on a quick throw, why not? Down set hut, it's catch and throw, catch balance throw. Again, taking what the defense gives us. So we teach it a 2 to 3 step slant by our number 1 and our number 2, and a 5 step by our number 3, just to create that space. We don't want them running into each other, which actually did happen a couple times this year. But okay, so here again, this is Skyline, second game of the year. They pulled their D end out to press our slot. They knew we had like 280 yards passing in the first game of the year, so they wanted to slow down our passing game. But it was second game, non-district team, so we were still going to throw the ball, work on our passing game. And they have one linebacker, so you're probably saying, why not run it? But again, we wanted to work on the pass a little bit more, especially since it was so new to these kids. And so our quarterback, again, it wasn't catch, balance, throw. He took too deep of a drop step on our quick game pass. It should have been catch, balance, throw, 1 step, and throw. But we still get good yardage out of it. Still a good execution, good throw, good catch. Again, this tight end, though, didn't run a 5-step slant. He ran a 3-step. Show you the end zone cam view. Anybody that runs slants out there, I'd love to hear more, because again, I don't know if I'm teaching it right, but we work outside in, especially against press here, which we have a press here. This guy's outside leverage, not really pressing. But we work outside, and then we come back in to that wide open area in the middle. Again, there was that spacing. It wasn't the best, but we'll take it. We get 18, 20 yards or something. Okay, another slant clip here. And this is Central Christian early in the game, or early in the season. Our quarterback got hurt. He pulled his hip flexor in this game, so we kind of quit running the ball. And we got into a tough situation because our backup quarterback, I convinced him to go out for football last week of the summer, and he's a freshman. Anyway, long story short, he's going to be a starter next year, so we'll see how that goes. But so anyways, our slants, if we don't catch it on the first 2 to 3 steps, it turns into a shallow crosser. They just keep going across the field. So the ball is supposed to be out quick on our slants, but if it's not, we go through our read throws and then run. Quarterback's supposed to take off running. He does here, but he keeps his eyes downfield because our slants turn into crossers, and then he makes a nice play just by keeping his eyes up, because he was supposed to take off running. But show you the end zone cam view also. So you can see he's not very fast here. He actually ran for 600 yards rushing this year, our quarterback did, but not in this game. All right, so again, not the best play call versus the coverage we're seeing, but I was just putting this on here to show you that our slants, we continue them into crossers, and we keep going, and our quarterback can take off running, but if he does a good job like here, he keeps his eyes up and can still find an open guy if the slant breaks down. Okay, I think this is the last one of the slants. So again, Skyline, we attacked them early on, you saw the go. We were throwing some vertical concepts on them early in the game, and they were running that 2-man with their D-ends out here. Now they switched it. They got 5 in the box, manned up on the outside, and look at how much space we have here. So we changed the play from the sideline to a slant. If I could redo it, I'd go run our curl flat over here and then just tag an individual slant, but we called all slants. Oh well, still works nonetheless. He's, wide open, makes a play, and 1st and goal at the 2. One more time, end zone. So you can see how much space is in here, or anywhere for that matter. And again, the quarterback, even on this, was a little late getting the ball out and kind of throws it behind him a little bit. Slows him down, but again, 1st and goal within the 3-yard line. All right, some practice clips quick. So this is how we kind of practice catch, balance, throw. So unlike Coach Tiernan, I'm more tech oriented from the the younger side of things. So I will pull out my phone and start recording stuff at practice all the time, and then just upload it to Huddle. Plus, these kids are visual learners. They love seeing it. They love the feedback after practice. Like, hey, how can I get better at this drill in practice? But anyways, here we're just going catch, balance, throw. So quarterback opens left, and he's getting his balance quickly as he can and throwing the ball, getting it out. So that catch, balance, throw is all we're doing here. Kind of a half-assed play action, but catch, balance, throw. And then I got several clips of this. So we'll run, and this is our pre-game, or not pre-game, pre-practice. The first stuff we do at practice is that individual offensive drills, passing game stuff, and our O-line's all down here doing other stuff down there. And we work definitely more open in the left, just because he's a right-handed quarterback. We don't have any lefties. And then again, catch, balance, throw. Now our quick game to the right, throwing the hitches, our spacing variation. And that's where the timing is supposed to be. As soon as he gets to that fifth step, hitch it up, back to the ball versus man. But again, if the ball's on time, we don't have to work back to the ball. Yeah, and then I put a note here. So next year we'll add a second passer. Here we only had 8 kids, and we only had 16 total. And at one point we had 12 at practice. So Division II schools, you guys know what that's like. But next year we're actually expecting 23 players. So I'm the AD, and I just ordered brand new uniforms for anybody that played Stafford. You saw our home jerseys. We had black numerals on a black jersey, which is illegal, but I loved it for scouting purposes. You couldn't see who was on anyways. But we had to get new ones, and I ordered 22, and then we had our football meeting, and now we're going to have 23, 24. So I had to actually go back and order more brand new uniforms, which is a good problem to have, though. But okay, and then last thing, so just some final thoughts from me. And again, I'm a very young coach, so I obviously still have a lot left to learn. But I love sharing. I love talking football. And anyway, so don't be afraid to be different. So like I learned, and like Coach Tiernan was saying, I'm very different from what I did in high school and what Coach Tiernan does. And I learned that in college. So college was the flip the switch, I guess, because I got into a spread offense for the first time in the 11-man game and learned all these 11-man pass concepts. And I was like, we can do that in 8-man, you know? And so, but anyways, and I read Doug Peterson's book, Fearless, in like 2019, and one of the quotes that stood out from him, he said, I'm the type of person who thinks for himself. I don't follow the crowd. As a play caller, I try to do things differently from other coaches, stay aggressive. Why be normal? All right, and then another thing, just always keep learning. Like I said, I had little to no pass game knowledge, at least none from Coach Tiernan prior to JUCO. So, but obviously, like I said, still have a lot left to learn. Next thing, don't be afraid to have fun. So I remember, and I was talking to Coach Hoppus the other night about this too. He said when he wanted to make a change at Canton Galva, they were, not doing well, and kind of the tradition of Stafford. This year was our first undefeated regular season since shortly after World War II. So I wanted to make a change as well. But we made it fun, and what we did was all new stuff, and the kids bought into it. It sparked excitement, competitive practices every day, led to high efforts and overall player commitment, and the important thing, success on and off the field. And it also went right into basketball. Our boys basketball team, which was the majority of the same kids, made it to state basketball for the first time since 1939. So first time ever, and it was packed. But and then lastly, football is the greatest game ever played, and I'll argue that with anybody if you disagree, but I can definitely say it was some of the most memorable and fun times of my entire high school experience. And so one of my goals is for my players to hopefully be able to say that same thing. And so remember, that's why we're in it. We're in it for the kids. So try to make it fun, be different, always keep learning, and spread it to your kids. And then that's it, you guys. So thanks a lot for having me. Coach Slater's not here, but thanks for asking me to do it. I was more than happy to do it. I hesitated for a while just because I'm not a public speaker. So, but yeah, thank you guys very much. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them now. And there's my contact information if you guys ever want to get a hold of me. If you don't have a question today, you can shoot me a text, give me a call, email me at the school. I'm the AD, so I check my email nonstop. It's been a nightmare this year. We were supposed to get a brand new track, and it's not done. It started in the fall. It's not done. So we had our high school meet. I had to host at another school last night. Anyway, it's been a nightmare, but give me a call. You can get me on Twitter, Coach Engelken, or on YouTube. A couple years ago when I got bored in the springtime at Osborne, not much to do there. But once I got bored, I was like, why not just get on YouTube? Try to create some sort of content for 8-man coaches to share and connect, and that's the goal. And I've been doing some coaching interviews, so I have 8-man guys come on and share their story and stuff like that, and it's been awesome because I get to meet so many new guys. Like next week I got a guy from Oklahoma, Ben Justice from Velma Alma, and then in 2 weeks I'm interviewing an 8-man coach in Pennsylvania who found my YouTube and wants to talk ball. So it's just cool how great the 8-man football community is. So But anyways, yeah, connect with me on there. If you have a question, let me know. If you guys want this presentation, I'm more than willing to share it to you. Except South Central. No, just kidding. No, they're in our district, but nope, anybody, I'll help anybody. So, any questions? All right, well, thank you guys. Thank you guys very much.
It's unique, and there's a lot of teams that have contacted us and wanting to know kind of how we do some of the things we do. So when Coach Slater asked me to speak, I thought that might be a topic that is of interest. And along with that, at most clinics, as you guys know, offense is usually a well-spoken about topic, and defense, for whatever reason, seems to be one of the topics that's not spoken with as much. So I thought, you know, since we do stuff differently, it might be a good idea to talk about it. And if you guys can take something away from it or use any of the concepts that we do in our defense, then feel free to do so. Also, I'm humbled to be here, guys, because just 6 years ago, I took over the program at Hill City, and I was just a bright-eyed, you know, bushy-tailed, first-time head coach, and looked up to a lot of the coaches that I see here today. Coach Tiernan being one of those. He mentions that we usually beat him, but he didn't tell you his first year back at Osborne, he beat the crap out of us. So it's not always a one-way gig. We just had his number lately, but he's put it to us in the past too. And then another one back there, I saw Coach Fowler here at Oswego. When he was at Spearville, he had the pleasure of baptizing me, as I call it, as a head coach, because they were my first year as a head coach, 2017. We go down to Spearville, and they're loaded, and Coach Fowler's a great coach, and they have a great tradition and program at that point. And we go to Spearville, and like a lot of you guys, if you've been a first-year head coach, the first game of your first year, you think you're just gonna beat the Super Bowl champions, right? Like 1 year you're gonna be a Super Bowl champion, and you're gonna win state. And we get to Spearville, and we know they're good. And I've been hyping this game up for my kids for a while, and we get there, and I'm feeling good about things. Well, needless to say, it was over at halftime, and we came out on the wrong side of that. He beat us 48-0, and I'll never forget that, because anybody could shake hands with a guy like that at the end of the game and just move along. And Coach Fowler came to me and said some really encouraging things to me that day that meant a lot to me. And I'll just always remember that, because whenever you're a first-time head coach and you have somebody you look up to mention some things like that, it means a lot. So anyways, I'm just humbled to be here, guys. I hope you can take something away from the presentation today. A little bit about me. As I mentioned earlier, I first started in Hill City in 2017. I was the assistant for 3 years previously. Having got there, my path was probably similar, again, to a lot of you guys. Played high school football at a small town. Those of you may not even be familiar with it. It's Palco High School. It's Northwest Kansas, small school. Graduated in 2017. I was lucky to be part of a good couple teams while I was there. One of those teams, we were able to reach the state game. This is the picture up here. This is the year before they relocated it to Newton. And playing in Palco, I was able to develop a big passion for football, and not only just playing the game, but also noticing what my coaches put into the hard work, and made me want to be a coach one day too. So I took that passion and I went to Washburn University in Topeka, and spent several years there. And when I was graduated, decided I wanted to make a mark and hopefully one day instill a passion into young kids, just like my coaches did for me, and took a job at Hill City. And then 3 years later, we're able to turn that into a head coaching gig, and I've been happy to be the head coach the last 6 years there. Along the way, of course, created myself quite the big family, as you guys can see. We've got 6 kids. My fiance Rachel, she's a big supporter of us, and we've been lucky to be a member of Hill City. Okay, so first thing, 2-4-2. That's our defense, and it's not a common defense among 8-man football. And so you might be wondering why the 2-4-2. Well, here's why we in Hill City think the 2-4-2 is best suited for us. Number one, as I mentioned, my defensive coordinator, Craig Amrine, he's an 11-man guy. He came from Ellis. He brought his sons, which are both great athletes, have been really good to me. And when he got here, he was learning the 8-man game and trying to figure out how that implemented to the 8-man. And we're able to create something that he was comfortable with, coming from 11-man, which is a 3-4 and a 4-4 system in 11-man. So that kind of transition for him made it easier to understand the 8-man game. The other reason why we like it is we feel like by putting 2 guys on the defensive line rather than 3 as like traditional 8-man teams, or even 4 in some cases, you're able to get more athletes, so to speak, on the field, right? And sometimes, in some cases, for us, like the other thing I was going to talk about here is necessity. In Hill City, we just make small kids. Like our community, we're lucky on every football team that we can get, we can put out a couple kids weighing over 200 pounds. This last year, we had 2 kids weighing over 200 pounds on our entire football team. So we don't have big, nasty mauler guys that can anchor on the defensive line, and it allows us to use our more athletically skilled kids and put them in positions to win, rather than just throwing them on a defensive line because we need to have a 3rd defensive lineman. So necessity a little bit for us, and allowing more athletes out there is one of the reasons why we do that. A couple other reasons, and I'll show you some clips here in a little bit, because I can say it, but unless you see it and visualize how it makes sense, it may not get the point across. But we think a 2-4 defense, or any 2-front defense for that matter, we're able to contain the edge a lot better than we would in our previous 3-front or 4-front defenses. And like I said, I'll show you some clips so you don't have to take my word for it. Another thing, it allows more players and coverages. So we're able to get more advanced in the types of coverages that we would normally run because we have an additional guy that we can put into a coverage, whether that be zone. And we run a lot of zone. I think Coach Engelken mentioned earlier he plays against a lot of man. And that's true. As an offensive coach, I noticed that as well too, is that most teams tend to run more heavy man coverage on defense. And that's not true with us. We're more of a zone heavy team. And having that extra guy in zone allows us to do that. So, lastly, the last reason we do this is because it's unique. And those of you guys that are offensive coaches, you know this, game planning every single week. If you have to go up against a team that does something different than everybody else that you don't go up against, it takes more time. And like we all do on every Saturday and Sundays, we spend a lot of time game planning for our opponents. And if they do something that is maybe going to make us take an extra hour or 2 or confuse our kids during the week in practice, it's to your benefit. So having teams have to only prep for us, our type of defense, once a year gives us a little bit of advantage. And scout teams, it's harder to replicate because they don't know our concepts. And I'm going to speak to you guys on some of those concepts today, but they don't have the luxury of knowing how we're coaching these types of things. So when you have a scout team running this stuff, they can't replicate what you're going to see on Friday nights. So those reasons are why together we run the defense that we do. All right, so how does it look? This is what we would call our base alignment in our defense. Now, some of the teams we've played, we call it a 2-4-2. Some teams that we've played against have referred to our defense, to me, as a 4-2. And the reason you might think that is because these guys here on the outside, these outside linebackers, are rolled up closer to the line of scrimmage than our inside linebackers, and that's by design. As we go through this, I'll explain to you guys why we do those things that we do, but some concepts that carry over on a lot of these things. We usually have, of course, 2 defensive linemen. We refer to those as defensive tackles. And I'll get more specific as we talk about each player going through this, but oftentimes our inside linebackers and our defensive tackles are stacked over one another. Not always, but usually. In our base defense, they are. Our outside linebackers, we're going to line up pretty wide. Depending on how many split receivers there are, that might change how wide we're going to split those guys out. But our safeties more or less always stay about where they are. Because like I was telling you guys, we run a lot of zone coverage. We need those safeties to cover the entire back half of the field most of the time. So they've got about half of the field that they have to cover. But this is traditionally what you'll see and what we would call our base defense, given a pretty common offensive formation we might run into.
What would your base corner alignment there? It looks like they're far inside. Is there a rule?
Are you referring to these guys?
Landmark? Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good question, and I'm glad you said. By the way, if you guys have questions as I'm speaking, feel free to fire away. Coach asked if how wide these are. Is that right?
Yeah, or just what your alignment is. Like, is it landmark based off where number 1 is, or?
Okay, so I'll speak on that a little bit more in detail, but depends. It actually depends, right? So like if we don't have a split receiver at all, and let's say this guy's come in and this is a 5 tight formation, he's going to stay exactly where he's at. If he splits out, he's going to stay exactly where he's at. What we're trying to do is kind of split what we would call the vertical threats, since we play mostly zone coverage, right? And since in this formation we see on this half of the field an immediate vertical threat is this guy out here, we feel good about keeping our safety and our outside linebacker where they are, and it doesn't really, scare us at all. Now, if they were to take this running back and put him in the slot and this guy go a little bit wider, we would widen that guy because now we've got 2 guys we'd have to worry about there in the flats, and we still have 2 vertical threats we have to worry about with that single safety. But I'll speak more a little bit on that when I get to these specific positions and what we ask each of these guys to do.
How about one? Let's say you go double tight there.
Mm-hmm.
Bring the guy in.
This guy here?
Yeah.
Okay. What do we change? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, what kind of movement are you going to get on your defense?
Absolutely nothing. Nothing would change at all. We would sit exactly where we're at because we feel good based on our principles that we teach in these guys that we can still do everything we would normally do if that guy was tight or if he was split out. And I'll give you some examples here as I go with clips and whatnot too.
So you leave your, I don't know what you call that guy.
This guy? We call this guy an outside linebacker.
You leave him down.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I know. And you're saying the same thing. A lot of teams, when they scout us, they're thinking, well, what would you do, Coach? You'd probably run right up between these guys, right?
Well, I don't know what I'd do now, but I'm just trying to.
Right. This is one of the reasons, back to my point here, why do we do this? It's because it's unique. Teams are kind of confused, and why are we doing what we're doing? And as I get through this presentation, hopefully I'm able to answer these questions, and they make sense. But right now I get it. You're confused because it's so different from what you're used to. It doesn't make sense by the basic principles of a 3-2 or 3-3 or even a 4-2 defense.
Coach, I'll say something real quick. To really familiarize yourself with this, if you know a 3-4 defense and 11 man, you have those dudes sitting right out there just playing in no man's land for like RPOs and stuff like that, and they're forcing the edge. That's what those guys do, and that's why they're an outside linebacker. They play like with a linebacker mentality. They do have pass coverage responsibility, but they have a linebacker mentality, but they're way out there.
Right. Okay, so I'll give you an example. What's this look like on Friday? So here's the team we were playing. This is Thunder Ridge. They're a very run-heavy team. So this was a good opportunity for us to test ourselves against a team that's a power run team. And this is what it would look like if we're on a football field lined up the way we do. As you can see here, our defensive tackles are lined up in a traditional 2-tech. Our inside linebackers, the 2 guys right behind them. Sorry, my pointer's not working very well. Mitch, do you have yours still? Could I use your pointer? I think mine's shorting out or something. But our inside linebackers are stacked right over our defensive tackles. What we refer to as our outside linebackers are, we ask them traditionally to be about 5 to 7 yards outside the last man on the line of scrimmage, if they're 5 tight. So we're about where we'd want them. And honestly, our top guy up here, our outside linebacker on the top, he's probably a little bit tight to the line. We'd want him a little bit wider out, but our safety's hanging out where they're at. That's kind of what you're going to look like if we're running up against a 5 tight formation. Here's a play for you guys. I mentioned earlier that we run this because I feel good about outside contain on a lot of our plays. I just want to show you guys why we think this is good for an outside contain. Here's a team. This is Hoxie. Again, another run-heavy team this past year. They've got a very big line. I want to explain to you kind of what you're going to see. They're an unbalanced line here. So centers here, they kept their tight end over here because he's a good blocking tight end. They put their 2 guards over here or a tackle, and then another tight end over here. And they're lined up in an I formation. What they're going to try to get is play action to the right with the fullback, and then they're going to toss it back here to this running back, hoping to attack this outside on the short side of the field over here. And what we ask these outside linebackers, again, they're probably too tight right now. Hoxie gets to the line of scrimmage really, really fast and kind of forces you to line up quickly. And we didn't always get in good alignment. So this is a little bit sloppy alignment, but these guys are going to be our outside contain, as a lot of three front teams will call their outside guys. Or for us, we call them our force players, because we want to force the defense to run inside of those guys. And they're our last guys that we're trying to push everything inside of them, because we've got a lot of help on the inside, but we don't have guys outside of those guys to pick up anything that gets outside of them. So I'll run this play and you can see how this works, then I'll run it back again so you can see exactly what we're looking for. But take a look at the outside linebacker on the bottom side of the screen here. Okay, I'll run it back one more time. And you're probably looking, you're like, so what? The guy wasn't blocked, right? Well, that's the idea with this, is we don't have a guy lined up over him in a traditional three front, and he doesn't have to fight off a block. He's got a lot of responsibility with that being said, but this gives your guys an easier contain, so to speak, because he doesn't have to fight off a block. All he has to do is force that guy inside of him, and we got help. So we're always trying to keep our outside contain or our force players clean. That's not to say there isn't going to be guys that come out to block them once in a while. They'll have fullbacks come out and try to get into them, and their job will just be simply to take that block and force that run back inside of them. Okay, so you looked at that and you're probably thinking, okay, well, just run between them, right? Just run between that guy who's lined so freaking wide and come inside of him, and we should be able to get between them. And a lot of teams do that. And like I said, this is probably one of the best running teams that we saw in the state this year. This is Thunder Ridge. They made it to the state championship game in D2. And for the most part, we felt pretty good about stopping their run game. And they came out in the first series and they tried to establish that run game. I think they passed maybe once. They had an opening drive. I think it lasted 18 plays. So they grinded this drive out, the whole opening series, right? And it was tough. They had to gain every single yard play by play. And some of those were really good runs of 5-6 yards. A couple of them, maybe they get a yard or two or even lose yards. But they really struggled running against this defense because it's something that was new to them. They were used to running against three front teams. So let me show you, this is an inside run, and you can watch again our outside linebackers are trying to do a job of forcing everything inside of them, and then we've got guys inside to clean up the inside run. Again, having two inside linebackers really makes this much easier for us to stop inside run than we would if we would just only have one inside linebacker. The other thing I want you guys to take a look at is our
safety there, coach.
Sorry, say that again.
Did you roll down one in your safety?
We did, and like I mentioned that, I'll talk about coverages here. We actually took one of our safeties out of responsibility and moved him in, and we're playing a cover one here because we knew they were so run heavy. We weren't worried about a pass as much, and we really want to focus on shutting down that run. So we did. We put a safety inside that box. Yes, Coach.
Do you have any specific reads for your down people or your linebackers?
Like, what are they reading? Is that what you're saying?
Do they have any specific reads they do, or just a kind of bullhorns?
I'll tell you this. We do tell these guys to read guards all the time, just like everybody else does too. What's different though, because like a three front, you're going to have your guards uncovered, right? And so they're completely uncovered. You don't see anything. Now when we do this, the center's the uncovered guy on most of these formations. Once in a while we'll move our defensive tackles over, but we're really telling those guys they're kind of like oftentimes unblocked until they get to, say, a center, or a pulling guard might get around to them. But they're our ball hawk. These are our big tacklers. These are our most aggressive kids who find their nose for the ball most of the time. But I would say as far as how we teach those kids different than a three front, inside linebacker, there isn't a whole lot. They're aggressive, downhill, run-stopping kids that we're just telling, traditionally watch guards, I'll run that back one more for you guys and then show you some of the alignments that we do differently with this defense too. Notice the outside linebacker on the top of the screen, guys. He does his job of forcing the player. This is a play action where the guy's going to mesh, the running back's going to mesh, and he does a great job of tackling this guy because he knows that's his responsibility, not letting anybody outside of him. Okay, so game plan specific. You'll notice in this one, now we only have one inside linebacker. certain teams we feel like we have to adjust to what they do because maybe they're taking advantage of some of the things that we would normally do in our base defense, so we have to adjust to it. So in this case, we only have one inside linebacker now, and what we've done is, I can't tell you the exact coverage we're running right now. It looks like maybe man out here, but this could also still be a zone based on how we line up. But we still have our force or contain players here and here, and this time we have a safety with only one inside linebacker. So we're still a 2 front, we just don't have our regular 4 linebackers anymore because we pulled an extra guy out here. One of the reasons we might do that is if we only have one guy out here, a lot of teams maybe will try to run a bubble screen or a now pass and just block our one guy and try to get away with that. So if we feel like teams are taking advantage of that, we can just pull one of those guys out, or maybe they're a better passing team and we don't have to worry about the run as much. We can take an inside linebacker out and move him around to get matchups that we like. But we're still a 2 front defense. Okay, here's another formation and how they line up to it and how maybe they'd have to get us out of what we consider our base defense. Okay, so this is an empty set. This is Oberlin. They took their 2 backs and split them both outside. And one of the principles that we teach our kids is, in our base cover 2 defense is, don't let anybody behind you, right? But now, remember when I told you earlier that we're worried about vertical threats in the pass game. And in this case, we've got 4 vertical threats, tight ends on both sides and a 5 tight, and the 2 backs split out. So if we were in our base cover 2 and we see 4 vertical threats, that's putting a lot of stress on our safeties. That's a clear danger for us. So a game plan specific adjustment we would do to that is we can roll to a cover 3 look. So now we have an extra guy in the back end to help with more vertical threats. And what we had to do to make that happen is we've taken our inside linebacker out and we've dropped an extra safety in there to give us more pass coverage deep down the field. But again, still true to our 2 front defense. This guy, again, he's probably just getting too eager. He should be wider out here, though. These are still our 2 outside linebackers. All right, I mentioned to you guys earlier that I was going to speak about each of these positions and how we teach these positions because their responsibilities are going to be a little bit different than they would be in your base 3 front defenses. So defensive tackles, we've got 2 of them, right? Base alignment, and this is base. This is the first stuff we teach our kids because our junior high doesn't coach this defense, nor the offense we run in high school. So when we get our junior high kids, this is all new to them. So we teach them base principles first. Okay, so our base principle means how we would line up if there's no adjustments needed. And that alignment would be our defensive tackles line up in a 2-tech formation, which is right over the guards. Now, that can change too, because based on game plan specific needs, or in the middle of the game, if a team's taking advantage of something and we need to move people around, we can do that quickly by just telling them to change their tech. And they know exactly what we mean when we say change your tech based on the technique that we teach them. Also, our defensive tackles, we leave it open to them. We don't make them do a 3-point stance or a 4-point stance. You'll see some of our film here. Most of the guys last year that we ran at defensive tackle preferred a 4-point stance, but it's totally up to them. We don't let them stand up at a 2-point because it's just not good in our defense for us, though. Responsibility, gap control. Occasionally, they're going to have to take on double teams. And if you find yourself, I'll tell you this, with a weaker defensive tackle in this system, it's best to find ways to try to get him double teamed, right? Like this last year, for example, we had one defensive tackle that's significantly better than the other. And when we would play teams, we would try to find ways where we would have to force a team to double team our worst defensive tackle by putting him in an awkward position. That would free up our better player to be in a one-on-one situation, so hopefully he could win that. Their also job is to disrupt pulls. So they're going to see guys, they're lined up right over these guards. They're going to be able to see that pull quick, chase that down the line of scrimmage. And lastly, if it's a pass, they're our first line of defense to rush the passer. So these are oftentimes our leading sackers because if we're not blitzing, we're only rushing 2. Okay, I put this on here for you guys because traits we look for is something that we do when we're trying to find fits for kids every single year. And oftentimes, when we see kids at the junior high level, a lot of you guys probably do the same thing. When you go watch a junior high game on a Thursday and you're watching those kids play, you're thinking as a high school coach, like, how is that kid going to fit my high school program? If they don't do the same exact thing you do, you're probably looking for, what does that kid do well that I could do with him, right? So we're looking at the junior high kids, and we're always thinking, all right, if we have any of these things here, that would make a good defensive tackle for us next year. And then even coming in from a freshman, sophomore rollover, we're thinking the same thing again. Like a lot of you guys are doing, you're probably already preliminary figuring out your depth charts for next year. And you're thinking, those guys that were on a bench, what do they do that could fit me next year? And these are the things that we were looking for. If those guys did any of these things good, our first and foremost thought is this is where they might be next year. So we're looking for these types of traits when we do this. But when I say that, and I mentioned earlier that we have really skinny kids in Hill City, right? Like 2 kids over 200 pounds. So I don't want you guys to get caught up on so much the size, because there's times where our biggest kids are playing in the secondary. Like 2 years ago, we had a kid that's about 200 pounds playing safety for us. Meanwhile, our defensive tackle's 170 pounds because the traits didn't match up to what we needed that kid to do. So don't just necessarily pigeonhole a defense as a big kid, because sometimes your best athletes that have these traits are going to make a good defensive tackle. Okay, so again, here's some profiles of some kids that have played defensive tackle for us over the years. The guys that are highlighted for you are kids that have made some sort of all-state nomination, whether that be first team or an honorable mention, state recognition. In 2020, we had a plethora of injuries, and that led us to playing a lot more kids than we needed to. But all of these kids played significant time for us at the defensive tackle position. Our best one being the kid obviously highlighted in red, the kid you see here, strong as an ox, fast, he had a motor, everything, all those traits I just showed you, that's what he did. 2021, again, our better one was our lighter kid. This is the kid I was telling you about, that he's 180 pounds, and we had a safety that's about 200 pounds, but this kid had those traits to be a good defensive tackle. And this last year, again, comes out of nowhere, tall, kid looks like a giraffe, he's 6'5", 185 pounds. He doesn't look like a defensive lineman, especially a defensive tackle, but he ends up being an all-state defensive tackle for us just because he had the traits we needed to play defensive tackle. All right, safeties. So again, we have 2 of every single position we've got. So our base alignment for our safeties, kind of going back to what I was talking about here, we split the vertical threats in our base cover 2. So here's a good example. If you look at this formation, you've got a vertical threat, this guy, split here, and you've got the tight end here. Both of these guys could be running verticals, and a cover 2, that guy's got a lot of pressure because he's going to have 2 guys running at him, potentially. So we want him to split the difference of those 2 guys. That way, when the ball's in the air, the guy can go hawk it down. And if you're lucky, you've got a kid who's really good with zone instincts. He can go hawk that ball down. This last year, we were lucky enough, believe it or not, this little tiny guy right here, he led 8-man football in interceptions because he's that guy that in a zone had the instincts to go hawk those balls down, splitting vertical threats. He'd sometimes bait a quarterback into throwing it up, and then when he threw it up, he was fast and quick enough to get over there, and he pulled in 10 interceptions last year. So splitting vertical threats is what we teach these guys based on their alignment. If we had 2 guys out here, let's say we take this guy and we bring him right where this guy's at and we move the other guy out, he's now going to split these 2 vertical threats, and he's farther away from the center. He's going to kind of split whatever the vertical threat would be. If there's trips, same thing. Now he'll be over the center of the trip receivers because you've got to split those vertical threats. Stance, 2-point stance. And we teach these guys because, again, there are deep pass responsibility, always taking a step backwards. We don't want these guys coming forward from the get-go because you're our last line of defense. You're always backwards. Responsibility, cover the deep half in our base cover 2. And if we're playing man, which we do play a little bit of man, but we're more zone team, lock down your receiver in man. And I'll show you some different alignments based on what it looks like if we're in man or not. Traits, we want a quick kid, fast, kid who's got ball skilled, and one of the bigger ones is discipline. You can't stay flat-footed. You have to stay true to how we teach these things in our indie drills and whatnot. And a big one is because we play so much zone is the ability to identify zones. For our safeties, we have kids, and like I said, this kid's great at playing zone coverage, but when we're in man coverage, he's our worst man coverage player. He got beat oftentimes in a lot of man coverage. And there's some teams who notice that too, that were able to take advantage of that. So we like this guy in zone coverage, but if we have to go to man coverage, he's not going to probably cover the best receiver. So when you guys are doing your indie drills or your defensive back drills, look for kids who can identify zones. And if they're good in zone, then they would make it probably a good safety. If they're good in man, well, maybe safety's not for them. Okay, again, safety profiles. So we've had all different sizes of kids. 2 years ago, we had taller kid, small kid. 2021, that's just telling you this kid here is probably pushing 200 pounds. He was listed at 190, but that was probably generous. He was probably closer to 200 pounds. Then his partner in crime there was that teeny little kid I just showed you who led the state in interceptions last year, which was our Atkins kid. And then his partner this last year was a sophomore who's kind of a lankier kid, but they're, again, very good in zone. Okay, inside linebackers. So the base alignment we teach for these guys is probably deeper than most teams for an inside linebacker. We want them quite a ways off the ball, and one of those reasons is because we teach these kids to be so aggressive. We want them at closest probably 4 yards close to the line of scrimmage, but ideally probably about 5 yards off the line of scrimmage because they're coming downhill from the snap. We teach these guys always coming forward. Their main responsibility is to stop the run. If they recognize pass, however, and we haven't called a blitz, then their responsibility in our base cover 2 becomes the hook to flat zones. And since there's 2 of them, a zone's pretty small, whereas if you're running like a 3-2, it becomes a little bit bigger because there's now 2 of these guys inside that are covering that hook to curl zone. Oftentimes, too, we're going to blitz these guys quite a bit. We've got blitzes that will dial up for run, and we've also have blitzes that will dial up for pass. But we'll blitz these guys quite often, but they're really, really aggressive. And year in and year out, our inside linebackers, at least one of them will lead us in tackles. And if you notice this, the traits that I put down here for you guys, a lot of those actually coincide with what I said for the defensive tackles. So in the past, if we've ever, which we have sometimes, is gone to a 3 front, usually it's one of our inside linebackers that just puts his hand in the dirt, becomes our nose guard, and nothing else just changes. So there's times we're going to run a 3 front defense, and because our inside linebackers traits match up with what we want of our defensive tackles, he usually becomes our first guy to put his hand in the dirt if we were to do so. Some profiles of some inside linebackers that we've had here in the past. The kid that you see here, the Dinkle kid, is probably the best case scenario that we could get for an inside linebacker. In the past few years, he's just been a tackling vacuum. He's very aggressive. He's downhill. And to make this defense work, you have to be an aggressive attacking style defense. If you play it passive and you're not aggressive, it's not going to work. And the inside linebackers, it starts there. They're very aggressive, and we've been lucky to have this last year. Again, if you're looking at this, you probably don't think a 145-pound kid makes an ideal inside linebacker, but he had all the traits we were looking for, so it just kind of coincided with him being the other inside linebacker. Okay, this is the engine to our team right here, is the outside linebackers. No secrets, if you don't have good ones of these, it won't work. Our outside linebackers are the engine to the defense. They have to be, and one of those reasons is because they have so many responsibilities. There are contain or force guys on the edge. They are flat defenders in the pass. They are blitzmen, and they have to be good athletes because they have to redirect often. So again, one of the questions earlier was how do we decide where to line these guys up? Typically, it's 5 to 7 yards outside the tight end if it's a 5 tight or no split receiver look. If there is a split receiver, then what we do is we split the difference between the offensive line, the last guy on the line, and the split receiver. So that can change. And some of those looks I showed you guys on clips earlier, and I've got some more for you. Our guys are probably too close to the line of scrimmage inside to the center than we'd like them to be. We teach these guys to be 2-point stance, inside foot's forward because they're always coming forward from the get-go. And as you can see from this diagram up here, it's going to look like a blitz almost every single play. If you watch our defense, it's because we teach that. Those guys have to be coming in because they're so wide to force the play in. If they sit out there and play this passive, teams are still going to be able to run right at these guys. They have to be aggressive and attack or this doesn't work. And if you don't have aggressive kids that play this, then it's not going to work for you. So you got to find kids who are willing to take on trap blockers or pull blockers, because they're going to be head-to-head with these guys often, coming full steam. Traits we look for, again, because this is kind of our engine, typically we find our best athletes playing this position. So we're looking for athletic kids first and foremost. If you're not athletic and quick and fast, it's not going to work for you. You got to be a sure tackler, again, because you're the container force player. You need to be the guy to force everything inside and not be able to miss those tackles. Good in space, and you have to have great change of direction, because oftentimes you're going to be coming full speed inside, and you're going to see a guy leak out into the flats, and you're going to have to redirect and cover that guy in the pass too. So even though we call them outside linebackers, they're basically an outside linebacker plus a corner mixed into one player. But we just refer to them as outside linebackers. Okay, again, our most athletic kids usually play this position. This is profiles of some kids that have played this for us. You'll notice my defensive coordinator son's been in this position. We actually tried moving him to inside linebacker this past year, and it didn't work. He was so used to playing this outside linebacker position, his traits weren't lining up with what we were looking for at an inside linebacker, that we moved him back out, and he played it good again once we moved him out there. And then we had a good surprise here. Our incoming, in that same class, we had another kid move out here, and he played that really, really well for us too, and probably our best man coverage guy as an outside linebacker. So when we play teams and we went heavy man, he usually covered their better receivers in man coverage because he was so good in man coverage. Okay, now that you know all about the positions, I'm going to show you guys some of our basic blitzes, stunts, slants that we do out of our alignment. For obvious reasons, I'm not going to give you the terminology because I don't want Coach Tiernan to take advantage of us week one. But I will just kind of show you what we would do, and you can call it what you will. Every team comes up with their own terminology, but this is an inside linebacker blitz. Some situations we might run this. I'll give you an example. So if we're running into a very run-heavy team and we're expecting run, if we don't think our linebackers are getting aggressive enough, we'll just call it a straight blitz. And when we do that, we're trying to fill all the gaps. Remember, because this is a gap-sound defense, our outside linebackers are covering our C gap outside. We're going to now have our defensive tackles shooting out towards the B gap, and our inside linebackers are going to plug both A gaps. I have a clip here to show you guys what that would look like. Here's the team. This is Atwood. I think this is the beginning of district play. Might have been our second game in district play. But you'll notice if you watch the defensive tackles, they'll slant out to the Bs. And our inside linebackers are slowly going to kind of creep up. We don't want them to show it too much. We try to time it so that when a team gets started on their cadence, they're not walking up for 3 seconds so a team can clearly adjust their blocking scheme. They can show it maybe like a second before the snap count, and hopefully they don't adjust their blocking on the fly. But this is our inside linebacker A-gap blitz. And again, this is a run-heavy team. We're not calling this to get pressure on the passer. We expected run here. We're just trying to get quickly to the ball carrier, and they're running option here, and the linebacker gets freed up because there's not enough guys to block 4 guys in those gaps.
So who has responsibilities on your option? Is there specifics like who has what?
Yep, there is. So this is, again, is when I told you guys your outside linebackers are your engine to your team. Again, this is another hard thing your outside linebackers are going to have to learn. We call it a surf technique. So what we do with this is our outside linebackers are guys here and here. Their job is to force this, obviously, play inside them. But if they see option coming at them, they do what we call a surf technique. So they come towards the quarterback who has the ball, but their responsibility is actually pitch man. So they're trying to bait the quarterback into pitching it without committing to the quarterback too much. And if you watch this here, you'll probably see our outside linebacker. It looks like he's stuck in the mud, probably in between the two, but we're trying to bait him into that. And if the pitch is still pitched, then our safety then will be the cleanup man coming downhill to get that if he did in fact get tricked. The inside linebacker's job is to actually take the quarterback on that case, or if it's a triple option and the fullback's coming at you, he's your first responsibility. So you watch this guy here, he'll see once he notices option, he's going to sit there and he's going to try to leak out quickly. So his job would be to bait, and then once he gets to about here, he's going to surf it. He's going to turn into an arcing motion here to try to redirect this if it is in fact a pitch. So he's probably a little bit too much committed inside here. We want him to be playing a little bit more outside, but then arc outside to be able to get that pitch man. And I will tell you this isn't an easy thing to teach. Like, we rep this often, and these guys get beat often. But if you don't rep it, they're going to get beat every time. So a team who's pure option would probably give you a little bit of headaches. And we've had some trouble with the option in past, but the more you rep it, your kids get used to that technique, and they're just not just aiming like a missile to one kid from the get-go. So it's a tougher technique to teach your kids, but if they get it down, it becomes pretty effective. Okay, so we got that A gap. Oftentimes teams will start to adjust to that if they see those blitzes, and then we have one we can mix it up. We call this an inside linebacker A gap cross. So what they're going to do here, the idea in this would typically be a pass rushing blitz we would do. The idea is we are trying to get the center's attention, showing blitz, and he's clearly, since he sees blitz and he's uncovered, he's going to try to pick up that blitzer, right? So he sees this guy walking up, and as soon as he shoots the gap to the right, as soon as he shoots the gaps to the right, our opposite side linebacker is going to sneak in right behind him and shoot the opposite side gap. So hopefully we get a free blitzing linebacker on the quarterback, and this is going to be a pass rushing blitz we would normally do. If you've got a pocket passer or a quarterback we don't think is a threat to run. Here's an example of this. Sorry, this clip starts a little bit late, but you can clearly see one linebacker is right over the nose of the center. That's his job, to get the center's attention. And then our opposite side linebacker is going to shoot through the opposite side, untouched, once the blitzing linebacker has the center's attention. And again, the idea with this is, if you do have a mobile quarterback, like this Nest City quarterback was pretty mobile, he's a shifty kid. The first thing he's going to see when he sees pressure in his face is to run outside. But if your outside linebackers have the responsibility, they should be able to clean that up really quickly. And you can see he tries to run outside, but then he sees pressure and he tries to scramble back inside. He immediately thinks outside. Since we have that covered up, he has to immediately redirect. Okay, so inside linebackers going A often, we do send them B. Every once in a while, teams will get used to that, so we got to mix it up. We send our defensive tackles inside this time, and then we're going to send our linebackers to the B gap. Again, nothing fancy, just kind of flip-flopping the roles and responsibilities of the defensive tackles and the inside linebackers, but we still are trying to stay gap sound. We want to make sure that every gap's filled in case the run happens to go to a hole that we weren't planning on. So here's what that would look like from a B-gap blitz. As you can see here, when you send two defensive tackles kind of straight in towards the center, you're going to create a big mess right there, right over the center. And because that center doesn't get any push, because two guys are shooting into his shoulders, it becomes a big jumbled mess, and the running back has no place to go as soon as he gets the ball. It's just a big clogged up mess. And if they're running inside, which this happens to be, this is perfect. This is what you want. But if they run B gap, we should still be okay because we got our outside linebackers filling the Bs too. Okay, outside linebackers, C gap blitz. Now, this isn't one we'll call very often. Reason being is because, again, we teach our outside linebackers to be aggressive in the run game, and they're always coming forward from the get-go anyway. The only times that they would back up is if they see pass. So if we happen to call an outside linebacker C-gap blitz, the only difference between what they normally do and this is if they see a guy coming into the flats, you continue still to rush towards the passer because you're no longer in that pass flats responsibility. You just got to get the quarterback. So this is, again, isn't something we call often, but we have called it if we're expecting an outside run or something. But the majority of the time, it's going to look like our outside linebackers are blitzing anyway. Okay, And like everybody does, we've got a blitz where we just send the house. 4th and 1, and you think it's coming up the middle. We're just going to send the house and try to plug every gap possible. And then, of course, just in case they try to do something sneaky, we're just going to keep our safeties in the back for a pass, but we're trying just to fill every run gap possible in our all-out blitz. Okay, so if we're not blitzing, we can still do some things with the defensive linemen just to try, and again, this might be like in-game adjustment. If we notice a team keeps running to the right, and when they're in a twin set, or they keep running towards the slot guy, well, we might sometimes decide to slant the players one given way. And so our defensive coordinator will call in a hand signal or verbalize the call, a slant, quickly once he sees the formation or adjustment. And we put this in there just to make sure that you can make a quick adjustment on the go in case you see something that needs to be adjusted, but you don't want to actually call a predetermined play. So we got defensive tackle slants to the right. We go to the left. Nothing fancy there. We go inside. Again, this kind of looks like one of those blitzes we did when we have our inside linebacker B-gap blitz. Maybe quarterback sneak as we're thinking. We can do slants inside, or we can go outside. So this just gives you an option with your defensive tackles to mix it up without having to commit to an actual blitz, but still mix it up a little bit on the defensive line. And again, guys, I want to remind you that even though all of these I'm showing you here on the board are lined up from a 2-tech, depending on formations, sometimes we might have a defensive tackle in a 1-tech or a 3-tech, or maybe both at the same time. One side's a 3 and one side's a 1. Or maybe we want to play a 3 and a 2 on the other side. You can feel free how you will to mix it up and call your defensive tackles where they're at. It's an easy adjustment you can do. Okay, coverages. So like I mentioned, one of the bonuses I had mentioned earlier in the presentation was that having an extra guy gives you the ability to run some coverages that you wouldn't maybe normally be able to do if you have 3 guys on the line. So these are our typical coverages we run. Game plan specific, we might add a couple different ones in if we feel the need to, but our base coverage in our defense is our cover 2. And how you see the arrows here is exactly how we would teach this exact coverage. So our inside linebackers are always coming forward. Once they notice his pass, drop to that hook to flat curl zone. Our safeties from the get-go are coming back. And then when they see a guy stretching him vertically, get back, don't let him behind you. Because if the quarterback puts the ball up in the air, he can go hawk that down. Outside linebackers from the get-go are coming inside. If they see a guy coming towards them in the flats, immediately redirect. Or if they even notice pass, get back to your zone. Cover those flats. Because we want to cover that check down. We want to make sure they don't get a quick out on us if you see pass. And on their way into the quarterback, oftentimes they'll see a guy coming right at them, or they'll see the quarterback pull up right away, and they drop into those zones. So this gives us the ability to have 6 guys in coverage, where most defenses are only able to get 5 guys into coverage if you're running a 3 front. So this is what a cover 2 look like against a team here. This is back to one of the ones you saw earlier. This is Hoxie. Unbalanced again. They like to run a lot of unbalanced and try to get you, if you notice, they come to the line kind of quickly. Their whole goal was to try to get you lined up in the wrong ways. And oftentimes, my outside linebackers, as you can see, got a little bit too close to the line of scrimmage because of that. They didn't know which side was going to be the strong side and the weak side. So they'd get a little bit too tight to that lineman on the end. But cover 2 look here, what you're going to see is the running back, which is one of the fastest kids in 8-man football. They're going to try to get him on like a wheel route up the left side. And our safeties have to be coming back. You can also notice the down and distance. This is clearly a pass situation because it's 3rd and hella long, but they're still running an I formation unbalanced. So we expect a pass. The kids know, hey, we've been scrimmaging from the sidelines. Ball's coming up in the air. So they're probably a little bit, more antsy for pass than they would normally be. But what I want you to look at is my outside linebacker on the top of the screen. He's going to see that running back coming right at him, and as soon as he sees him come right at him, he has to get back into the flats. He's going to redirect because from the get-go, he's going to be sprinting in to stop that outside run, but once he sees pass, he's going to haul ass back and cover the flats. Oop. He's coming in, then he back and repedals, Safety's kind of sandwiching that kid that's getting vertical, and we force the quarterback to get rid of the ball. So again, watch the safety over here, sees the vertical threat. He does not let him get over him, and this flat defender carries him to the safety, make sure that we don't get anything between them. And if the quarterback throws the ball up, the safety's, like I said, a ball hawk player, he's probably going to hawk that down. And on the backside, if you look at my other outside linebacker here, this is something else we teach too. This isn't a blitz, but my outside linebacker on the bottom is coming in for pass rush. It's too late. We teach them, like, if you recognize pass too late, don't stop in the middle and redirect because you're going to get beat anyway. It's like that oh shit moment, just commit to it, because if you try to play in the middle, you're not going to cover either. So he has that moment where he's coming, and then he sees he sees pass, and so he's just going to continue his path towards the quarterback, which ends up looking like a blitz on this outside linebacker. But again, he's close enough, he ends up forcing the quarterback to get rid of the ball. Here's another look for cover 2, same team again. 3rd and long. We think the ball's coming up. Okay, notice here, this is a trips alignment. So according to our principles, remember our safety playing towards the trip side, we are going to split the vertical threats. So our safety should be right over that middle guy in trips, the guy between the two. Our outside linebacker is going to get about on the inside of that trip defender, but still be able to force inside if he sees quarterback running inside or they're trying to bring those 3 trip defenders to block him. He's got to be able to stop that. And then if he recognizes pass, of course, cover the flats. And then keep your eye on that outside linebacker on the trip side because he's going to read this in the flats. Again, not the fastest guy in the world, but he's got great zone instincts. He's able to kind of sit there, read the quarterback. You can see his eyes are on him the whole time. Quarterback doesn't notice it. In a man coverage, he might be sagged off enough to make that happen, but again, we play a lot of zone and it works for us. He does, and that makes him be more aggressive. I should also mention on the backside here too, guys. On the backside, notice my safety, he's almost in midfield. The reason we're able to do that is because on that entire right side of the field, there's only one vertical threat on that backside. That's that tight end. So we're able to squeeze that guy over and come help a little bit on the trip side, because if he sees that tight end stand straight up, well, now he's basically like covering with the other guy 3 trip defenders. So he can kind of squat more on the backside of the field.
If that tight end was not attached and was split,
that makes it tougher. Yeah. Don't tell anybody that because we don't like to see that. But yeah, if they would split him out, that's going to make his job tougher because now he's got to get farther on the wide side. And we probably wouldn't be able to run cover 2 if that team did that. That would be a game plan specific thing. We're like, oh, well, hell, they're spreading the whole field out. Now we're going to have to cover these guys and probably play cover 3 against trips. Or man. Speaking of cover 3, this is a cover 3 look, and you'll notice we have to take a linebacker on the inside out to run that cover 3. So for us, and again, I would not suggest this because if your inside linebackers or anything like mine, they're probably not good pass coverage guys. So what we did is we took our outside linebacker, one of our better athletes, and we moved him to the center of the field. And then one of our inside linebackers, we moved him to outside linebacker, because that would allow us to be in good sound coverage by putting one of our better coverage guys as a safety rather than just dropping the inside linebacker back, because if they would throw it to that guy and he's in coverage, it's not going to be good for us. So in this look, we are a 2-3 running a cover 3 look.
Is this kind of a prevent defense for you a little bit?
Yes, if obvious pass down, or if we think in certain situations like this, for example, where running a cover 2 would probably get exposed because you got 4 vertical threats, or an obvious pass down situation, this is a time we would run cover 3. So I want to give the coach here, he's not here today, but this is Oberlin's coach. He did a great job, I think, of prepping for us, and maybe even noticing when we went cover 3, what he did is he would call a formation, he'd see how we'd line up, and he'd try to call a play to adjust what he thought would attack that defense well. So props to that coach for seeing this and recognizing, well, in cover 3, if we've got 4 guys to send deep, why don't we just send 3 of them deep off the get-go, pause and delay one of our tight ends, and then leak him up once everybody's stretched way down the field. And you'll see on this play, He does that, and it's able to be a successful play for them. Tight end on the left down here on the bottom, he's the delay guy. And we blitz our inside linebacker, which was a bad call there, but it's a great play for them to call in a cover 3 look because all three, they see 3 verticals running at them, and we don't want to get them behind us, so they are given a cushion, and they just drop it down for a short, easy first down. Great call by that coach there. Here's another cover 3 look. Coach, you mentioned, like, is this a prevent? That's the exact situation this is. So we're ahead in this game. There's like 2 minutes left. They've got the ball on the 15-yard line. They need to score a touchdown and 2-point conversion to win. So we know they're in all-out pass mode. So we drop to a cover 3 look because we're not so much concerned about the run. So in this case, they're just running twins. It's not super scary for us to run cover 3 based on the formation, but the situation dictates that we run cover 3. They try to catch us there with a quick like running back screen flare. One of the split receivers tries to crack our inside linebacker, but he's so far up the field that it's not going to work anyway. But this is a perfect situation where you can see that the situation of the game dictates cover 3, not so much the formation. Okay, lastly, cover 1. Or, I'm sorry, not the last one. This is our last of our zone coverage is cover 1. If we feel like there's a team that runs hardcore power run football, we might have to bring a safety into the box. And that's kind of what I showed you earlier with that Thunder Ridge team, power running team. We might bring a safety into the box and have a single high safety because we're not so much worried about the pass. Short down and distances, maybe 3rd and 2, we might drop into a cover 1. But this is supposed to keep us tougher in the run game, but not completely sell out on the run. We still have a guy back alone to cover the deep whole field. Again, coming back to Thunder Ridge because they run the football really well. So as you can see here, we've now dropped one of our safeties, little guy here. He's up here in the box, and this guy, he's not the brightest guy. He gets the call late, and so you'll see him shift over in the middle of the field kind of late, knowing he's all alone in the middle of the field. By the way, when you see this safety creeping up here, this is all him. He's never played in the box. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just kind of getting antsy. We definitely didn't blitz that guy. He's feisty. Okay. And man-to-man. Again, we don't run a lot of man. How am I on time, Coach?
Good.
Am I good? Do I need to wrap it up soon?
You're good.
Okay, 5 minutes? Okay. Man-to-man. So we do run man-to-man. We are, as you can tell by all the zone coverages we've run, we're a more zone-heavy team. And we practice those zone concepts a lot. But we do run man from time to time. And sometimes personnel of teams we're playing or formations dictate that we have to run a man-to-man. So this is kind of what it would look like if you saw a man-to-man. Now, the one thing you might notice here is everybody's manned up except for we don't have anybody, and Coach Engelken mentioned this earlier too. He said the running back's oftentimes the most uncovered guy in the field. I absolutely agree with that. One of those reasons is because sometimes defense don't account for him in the pass. And so this is a time where our outside linebackers have to put pressure, either rushing the quarterback or containing the run by coming inside. But if they ever notice the running back's on their side, they have to first and foremost, if he goes outside, you've got to take that guy in man. But if he sits there, continue your pressure towards the quarterback. So again, one of the reasons why you want a good athletic guy here is because he's got a tough situation. So you can tell. Notice our coverages were way more rolled up now. Corner on the bottom, which our safety, he's up tight, press man. We've even dropped our safety, like sniffing the tight end because they try to leak these tight ends out. So we just wanted to get hands on him quickly. So we're rolled up really, really tight on him playing man coverage. Again, running backs lined up on the right side, so if the outside linebacker on the top of the screen sees him leak out, he's got to take that guy. Exactly.
to be even? Let's say you have a blitz call for that guy and he sees the backfield. Does he got to go?
If we call a blitz, then we're usually going to tell him no. But again, we probably wouldn't if we expected maybe that's a possibility. And this team here, Quinter, their running back was shifty and he had good hands. So again, probably wouldn't be one that we would call. But if we call a blitz, you're committed. Just do it. Don't worry about redirecting.
Collision the guy there.
Yeah, he's a good man coverage guy. Again, that was our outside linebacker. He's probably our best man coverage guy. Okay, again, man-to-man, time we might call that. If it's a goal line situation, it's hard to run zone because your zones shrink a lot. So we're going to run man a lot of times if we're backed up to our own goal line. Team's putting pressure on us, getting ready to score. 2-point conversion in this situation. This team we're playing here is Meade. They had a great complement of receivers and a good quarterback that was shifty, and we knew they liked to run a quick pass game with rolling their quarterback out. So we tried to get really, really tight in man coverage. And so again, man coverage the situation dictates man coverage. We're up tight on everybody. He rolls out, just get a hand on the ball. Again, same guy you saw in the last clip batted down because he probably, like I said, our best man coverage guy, which happens to be our outside linebacker. Okay, 2 more. I just want to show you guys. I don't have clips for you on them, but this might be a game plan specific. If a team sees that we have only 1 outside linebacker splitting 3 trip defenders, and as an offensive coach, if I saw that, first thing I'm throwing is a bubble screen, right? Because you've got 2 guys to block, they're 1 guy. So if a team starts doing stuff like that to us, or they've got quick crossing routes and he's got to pick one of the 2, we just might drop 2 guys in that area to cover that zone since there's more defenders and leave 1 over the top. So let's say the situation's 3rd and 4, they like a quick passing game. This would be a perfect time we might call what we call a 2-under defense. And we'd put another guy out there, which is our outside linebacker in pass coverage, and he's not rushing anymore. Then, if a team's got to get vertical, so it's 3rd and 12, and we know they're probably not going to throw a 5-yard pass, but they're probably want to throw deep, well, we just drop one of those guys deeper, and now we're running basically cover 3, but with 2 of the guys having a smaller zone to cover because there's more deep vertical threats on their side. So this one we would call a 2-over scheme here versus the last being 2 under because we're running 2 guys underneath the flats. This guy's 2 over the top. Okay, guys, that's all I've got. Hopefully through all of that I didn't confuse you, and maybe you took something away from this that can help you guys out. Coach, did you have a question?
Coach, one question.
Yes.
With your attacking defense, I call it your attacking defense. 'Cause
Yes.
It seems like you're attacking.
Very aggressive.
Would you rather be playing a gun team or an under team?
Like an under, well, here's the question.
Under center.
My question would be, is it a spread out team or is it a 5 tight under or is it a under spread? Because that matters a lot. I'll tell you this, when we see teams that run 5 tight formations, we love it because it makes our job so easy because the field shrinks and it puts a less pressure on our cover 2 safeties. So anytime we see teams come in with 2 backs, 5 tight, we lick our chops. We're going to blitz all night. We're going to force everything inside the box and it's going to get messy. That's probably why we were able to play Thunder Ridge to such a good game. I mean, the team that made it to the state championship game running the ball, but we had pretty good success stopping them. If they would have spread us out a little bit more, which they did later in the game, it put more pressure on us and it was tougher to defend. So I'm not sure, Coach. I would tell you that we prefer to play teams that are 5 tight, though. I'm not sure if gun or under matters so much, though. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Speak in this clinic because the guy's moves about as often as I do, and same thing in common with him as he wins everywhere he goes. Say I had stories about everybody. I do have a few stories. We're not going to get into it because we're running behind. Played them once. I believe we all played them once, haven't we? And that's about all I got to say about that.
Thanks, Steve. Just so you know, this is not my cup of tea speaking in front of people. I'm very much an introvert. Coach said he was start shaking because he's old. I shake because I'm nervous and old. So I'm going to do the best I can for you guys, get you through, maybe just give you a peek into what we do at Little River. I've even a little more nervous. Got a call last night about Coach Tiernan's accident. Didn't get much sleep, was worried about him. He texts me fairly often, likes to brag about he's been taking these riding lessons. And riding what, you ask? Well, he's into horses, which you would never guess until you get to know him a little bit. And then he sends you these texts. He rode Big Red, rode some black stallion. I mean, fairly often. Well, last night I guess he got bucked off, got hurt pretty bad. I didn't know he came up to Salina early, but I guess got bucked off, got his foot caught in the stirrup. And Coach, I noticed you're walking a little tender. But anyway, real thankful. He wasn't hurt bad. Luckily, the lady working at the arcade came out and got that merry-go-round unplugged, and Coach is okay, so we're thankful that. But there was not a lot of sleep going on because I was worried about old Steve. But anyway, as far as Little River, Coach, this is your key to go to that next slide. I just put this up there. Sometimes you young guys wonder, where's this guy been? What's he done? That's just where I've been, a little bit what's happened. None of these moves were really career moves or anything. They were family moves. Really happy at Jetmore. I've been at 3 great places. Really happy at Jetmore. Loved the place. My father passed away. Felt the need to get back closer to my mom, so we moved to Sharon Springs. And I don't know how I've been so lucky and blessed in my career, but I hit another great community, another great town. And we were there for a while, and then my wife is from Little River, and she now thinks it's her turn to be close to family, and so we've moved to Little River and have been there. This is my 4th year. And just to tell you a little bit about coaching cycles, my mentor, my biggest mentor growing up was Shane Cordell, and he's sitting right back here. He's a legend in 8-man football. He created the defense we run. And Coach Lafferty over here played under him, is married to his daughter. And so that tree, and what's really awesome is now he had a grandson on the team, that's how we got him. But Coach is now a part of our staff. And you talk about a wealth of knowledge, him and Chad, so thankful that they do what they do for us. And Coach brings the humor on the way up here. He called me a peckerneck. I proceeded to ask him, Coach, what's a peckerneck? And then he proceeded to tell me, and don't ask him what a peckerneck. I've been called a peckerhead before, but a peckerneck I've never been called. So that's a new one for me, Coach. I appreciate the education on the trip up here. So, okay, as trying to think about what to talk about. As a young coach, I came to these things and I was everything, okay? I was going to be the spread throw guy because I heard a great guy. I was going to be the 3-3 stack blitz everybody because I heard that. And so I got to thinking, what I want to talk about. I'm going to hit on you young coaches a little bit just because back when I was a young coach, coaches like Coach Cordell steered me in the right direction. I'm going to tell you right now, scheme is completely secondary. There are all kinds of schemes that have won state championships, and they do not matter if, you can look up there on the board, your players don't have each other's back. This is something at Little River, at Sharon Springs, at Jetmore, that we do. We lift each other up. It's a constant talk in our program. We do a senior leadership camp. We go to Wilson Lake. And just the seniors and the coaches, and simply to build that bond that this is their team. As coaches, we're here to help them. It's a great time. We're not coaching them hard, trying to get the most out of them. We can relax. Those relationships are built. That bond is built. They learn a core value, what they're bringing to the team, what they're bringing to their community, their gift. And we have what's called a signature gift for our team. This year they're driven to make a difference. We are all one. We roll different. And so we've been doing that the last 3 years, and it's made a huge impact, especially when you come down to you got that senior on your team who's maybe not getting to play so much. This year, a huge example. We still could bring him in. We had that relationship. We could keep him moving forward. He did not become a cancer to our team. And so those relationships things are huge. If your team cannot handle adversity, you are going to fail. And I put this up here because this comes out of my mouth every time something bad happens. This year, I could point to several times. We're in the sub-state championship game. Opening play, we fumble on the first play, I believe, on the 12-yard line. And they recover, they have the ball, and immediately my testicles are up in my throat. You guys all know that feeling when you're like, oh no, this is not how we want to start. And so I do it for myself as well as my team. I'm yelling, hey, we wanted a ball game. We want a dog fight. We are built for this dog fight. And when they see that start coming out of you, they will feed off of it. And not only does it get them going, it gets me going too. Because I'm a nervous guy. You can tell by listening to me right now, I just get nervous. It's who I am. I've learned to accept it. But I'm yelling that, and I'm yelling that for myself too. And it'll bring me out of that spot and say, hey, we are in a dog fight, let's go fight. So it comes out of my mouth, and some seasons it's way too often, but it does happen. If your practice habits are poor, players don't hold each other accountable, selfish attitudes infect your locker room. And culture is way overused. I don't like that term, but it is probably the #1 factor in making your team successful year in and year out. So, feed the cats. Anybody here familiar with Feed the Cats? You feed the cats, guys? Okay. I am a recovering grind coach, and we have embraced the Feed the Cats principles. So, question, Coach?
Yeah, before you get going on that, can you tell us more about your leadership camp, how that's run, and what you do?
Yes, be glad to. In fact, this is something I'm glad you asked. I didn't want to put out an advertisement, but we have started this camp. It's at Wilson Lake. Last year we had one team come, Plainville, and we've started doing this for other teams this year. Good friend Mark Coles at Nest City is going to come. Also Jeff Hinnick at Oakley played for me. But we bring your team in, and it is a curriculum. It's work. It's work and it's fun. And there's an interview process that happens that's pretty painful. Really kind of digs in, grabs the core of your kids, who they are, what they're going to bring to their team, what their gift is to the team. They all have gifts, and these have nothing to do with physical gifts. These are all internal gifts. We have a big faith aspect to it, and these kids reach down and find out who they are, what they're made of. And as they do this interview process, that comes out, and they write it out. These kids actually build it with their teammate. And so they get this core gift. It's called a core value. It's a statement they write down. I get them all, and I very much use those as they come through the season. Example, this kid this year that didn't get to play a lot, great kid. His core gift was he brings the energy, he is the hype man, and he was. And so we can say, hey, you are still so needed on this team. And so we go back to that core value, core gift. And then the signature gift, that's the coolest part for me, is to watch these guys. They'll start talking. It's a language, it's a love language. I mean, I'm not a touchy-feely guy. Don't tell my wife that, but I'm not. But they start talking about deep things within your football team that, and they write this signature gift. And there's more to it than I put up there. They bring that signature gift to it, and then you go home with these things that you understand a lot where your players are coming from. You also, in the interview process, you also learn a ton about the things they're going through at home that you may not have known. I've learned a lot about my players when they get there and go through this interview process, what some things happen at home that I didn't know about, some things they've had to fight through, struggle through, and so it's a pretty special thing. It's something we're trying to get going. We're new at it. It's myself, a good friend of mine who has a house at the lake. He has lots of kayaks. We go down to the water. We play a lot. So yeah, if you want to know more about it, or if it's something you're interested in, it's also something we're starting to look at bringing in football staffs, because if you can do that with your staff, coaches come in and go through it with their team. You go through it with your staff. You can learn a lot about each other, and then you get in those hard times when you're coaching. You've got those bonds, and so It's pretty cool. So anybody wants any information on that or you're interested, just hit me up afterwards. I'd be glad to share it with you. So, but we are a Feed the Cats program. I have went from back squat is everything. I went from bench is everything. I went back and looked. I spoke at a clinic way back when. It was called Best Ideas I've Ever Stolen, and every one of them was how much pain I could inflict on a kid to make him a tough football player for me. And if my former players could watch our practice now, I mean, there would be a mutiny, because I put those guys through so much. And we won games, and yes, we were mentally tough, we were physically tough, but we were also beaten down, and there's a better way to do things. So Feed the Cats is a whole talk on its own. I just want to touch on the points. I still fight it, because I still am that guy who we are going to outwork, we're going to outgrind, we're going to out-tough, we're going to out-physical you. That's who I am, that's how I was brought up, and Coach Lafferty will often tell me in practice, are you feeding the cats? And it just gets me. But it's all about tempo. It's sprint, rest. Feed the cats. A cat sprints to catch its prey, and then it sleeps and it rests. It makes for a much more enjoyable practice experience, because you're not always worried, are we doing everything we possibly can? It's about rest and the perfect rep. Rest and the perfect rep. We sprint, we never condition. Thursdays are easy. I used to be that guy who has to be perfect on Thursdays, or we do it again and again and again and again and again and again. And pretty soon your kid is so mentally and physically tired, they don't even want to play on Friday. Now we're all about get in, get out, get them rest. Summers, guys, I used to be that person who we lifted Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We conditioned like crazy through the summer. With the Feed the Cats, this is going to blow some people's mind. We lift on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, back to back. Not great for programming, but it lets the kids have a summer. We don't do a lot of team camp things. I think as coaches, a lot of times we feel pressure to just what? Everything. We got to go to 5-on-5 camps. We got to get to team camps. We got to get to, this is all we do. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Monday, that day they come back after playing all that basketball over the weekend and you don't get much out of them anyway, is gone. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We have our own team camp, which is just after weights for 1 week. And that's pretty much it. Because we are trying to peak at the end of the season. I don't want my kids coming in beat down, tired of football in August. And so I think a lot of us are really scared to back off, because we're afraid we'll get behind. And we have backed off. Does it hurt us at the beginning of the year? We are not the best football team in week 1. We are not. But I feel like our kids are pretty fresh come the end of the season when we want to be peaking. With that said, something you can look up, triphasic training, Cal Dietz, one of my favorite guys. RPR, I asked Coach if we should put you guys through anyone familiar with RPR? Reflex Performance Reset. Yeah, some guys out there. I was going to put you through it, make you stand up and do all this stuff, but then I was like, I've never done that with some guys that are drinking beer, so I'm not sure how that would go together. A thing with Feed the Cat, you can't use it as an excuse to not practice right, great reps. Practice is still intense when it needs to be intense. It's not an excuse to be lazy, but as a coach, it's very, very freeing, and it also feeds the coach. I am so much less tired going home at the end of practice. I have so much more energy for the week because of the way we practice. Here again, whole nother talk in itself. Coach, I better go fast. Coach Tiernan said my time's short. You want to be a great football team, your offensive line has to be great. They are the engine that makes it go. I coached the O-line. I never played O-line, but I really wish I would have. These are the guys and these are the players. All your quarterbacks love football, don't they? All your running backs love football, don't they? All your wide receivers, they love football. But you've got to take some kids walking your hallways and make them love offensive line play. They are the engine. And it's something I feel we've been pretty good at. We make great O-line play a big deal. A big deal. In film, our offensive linemen eat first. We go out to eat. They're off the bus first. That's the only really pat on the back those kids get as far as getting recognized for the work they do, other than us coaches, because nobody sees, just what that is and what they bring to the program. When I was a young coach, I got all caught up in technique on the offensive line. We're going to take a 6-inch step. We're going to, all this stuff. And also, all I got is slow, unaggressive offensive linemen. And we flipped that. I want a butt kicker. I want a kid that's nasty. I want a kid that's going to bury you to play offensive line. And after we get that, and you can create that. Don't let him tell you different. Just because he doesn't have that mentality to start with doesn't mean you cannot create it. I want a butt kicker, and then the technique comes second. I tell that kids all the time, which is more important, technique, all right, or being nasty? And I'll take nasty every time. Nasty drills we do, got a lot of them, but I just put one on here, sumo drill. This is a highly competitive drill, and it's simply you put two guys about 6 inches apart. They are both offensive linemen, and on go, it's just a matter who can plant the other one. Yeah, it's two offensive guys going together, I get that, all right, but then we find out who's nasty, and kids feed off that. It's a high intensity drill. Then we go, because we're feed the cats, then we go rest. We go over the water and spend a little more time there. I want to talk about run fits just a little bit real fast. And I learned this a long time ago at a clinic as a kiss hug principle. And we talk about a lot with our offensive line and just aiming points. And we tell them to kiss them first. We do that for a couple reasons. Number one, it puts their head, neck in a really safe position. You can't kiss with your head down. And also, where are we going to kiss them? And depending on what scheme we're running, it might be the ear hole. It just depends on what scheme we're in, where we're going to kiss them. That's not telling our kids to lead with their head. Today's day and age, you obviously don't do that. But in offensive line play, you're going to have contact with the head. Let's get the neck in a safe position. Then we have the hug, and that is not like this. Hug is thumbs up, elbows in, and I'm telling you guys, this next thing on here will make a huge difference with your offensive line play, because young kids love to get out here, and that's absolutely where you don't want them. We finish on the whistle, jumping back up to there. Our kids never extend their elbows until the whistle, and the whistle tells them to finish, and that's when we finish. Because you struggle getting kids, out here. Now I have no leverage, no power, so we use the kiss hug principle, and there's a bunch more drills with that, but I'm going fast, like you said. So, offensive line creed, you can take a picture of it. I was at Andale, and they got a pretty good football program. I don't know if you know, but this was all over their weight room wall. That's the offensive line creed. And here again, just trying to embrace what it is to be an offensive lineman. So this hangs in our locker room, and just trying to, create that culture within that mini group. So that's what we do. Who we are. We're an option-based power run team, throws play, action, pass. Same plays out of multiple formations. We love to use trap game, angle blocks. Our passing game is almost purely based on play action. We have play side, backside rules with tags, how we call our plays. You got to coach what you love. I love knocking people off the line of scrimmage. When I put in a film, it's my absolute favorite play. I love to watch your teams knock us off the ball. I just truly enjoy great offensive line play. And so that's what I love, and that's what I coach. I so wish in today's age I was like Coach Engelken, catch it, throw it guy. I love that style, but it's not who I am. It's not what makes me tick. So this is what we do. And we do use a dual quarterback system. I've gotten a lot of questions on that, and I'm going to kind of touch on that a bit real quick. So the whys, why do you run a 2-quarterback system? You can move your dude. I love being able to take my playmaker and put him at quarterback. To me, the hardest thing to defend in 8-man football is a quarterback that can run it and throw it, especially when people start spreading you. It's the hardest thing to defend. As a defensive coordinator, I hated it. And so I love putting that athlete at quarterback. But I also love to be able to throw to him. I love to get him the ball in space. And so you can move that dude. You can put him where you want and find that mismatch, the chess match that happens, starting on Saturday mornings. You can use the strengths of 2 different athletes We've done this for several years, started back in Sharon Springs, but you know, we've got that quarterback that's the hammer, he's the fullback type, or you've got the one that can throw, or you've got the one that's got speed to the edge, and so you can complement each other, and it almost gives you a whole nother offense to run with your same plays. More prep for opposing coordinators. Always love making you guys spend more time on your weekends. Injury is a big thing. A couple years ago, we're in, I believe, the sub-state game against Kent and Galvin. Our quarterback gets hurt. We simply just go right to the offense with the other one making the play calls, taking the snap. And so, you know, you get that injury. We didn't have to put a kid who has no playoff experience in there because we've been running both of them throughout the season. You can use them as a decoy. It's maybe one of my favorite things. You put your dude out there, what do teams do? They move everybody, and now you have other things you can do offensively. And it's fun. I love the chess match that happens in football when you're breaking a team down. Where can I move my pieces to, you know, maybe give us an advantage with your defense? The why not? It does give you tendencies. I know that. But all you need is that one tendency breaker to call when you get an overload or something. But it does give you tendencies. At times when you're an old coach and your brain don't work so well, remembering who's where, once in a while catches me. And then it moves other players within the formation. So you got to have smart kids in order to do it. Well, I shouldn't say smart kids. You got to have disciplined kids that are willing to focus and practice and get it done. The hows, this is not hard. Everybody says, how do you do that? Our quarterbacks own plays and they own formations. And it's really that simple. He knows if he hears pro, I'm at quarterback. He knows if he hears, you know, Redskin, he's at wide receiver. They just own plays. And then sometimes in our sidecar, we're in gun with a sidecar running back. It just depends on the play call. If it's quarterback trap, fullback trap, or maybe our read option, those guys own those different plays. Our base run is veer, read option, gun trap, quarterback trap. We're almost always in the sidecar. I like the pistol better, but I can't find ways to do some of the things I like to do with the pistol. Our run block rules, we always play side, wash down, leave the house. What is the house? House typically is the first guy head up or outside the tight end. Now we run inside trap, the house becomes head up or outside the guard. We do change if they have a defensive end that aligns inside shade. Sometimes we'll say, hey, the house is inside shade this week, but that is the house. That's the guy we're always messing with. I love being able to take and do things with your defensive ends. We're either going to trap them, we're going to read them, we're going to kick them out with our fullback, and hopefully by the end of the game they have no idea what's coming with our offense. Plus, when you're leaving the house, it's wash it down, the play side is blocked always the same, backside is always the same unless we tag it with a trap, and it makes for a very, very simple blocking scheme. So, play action. How do we block it? We are a gap protection. It's very simple. Our fullback, who is always in the, the play action mode, he's getting the fake. If we call, I'm old school. I have never been an assistant coach. I started as a junior high head coach, and my terminology is so jacked up, guys. I have created as I went, and so I get to talking, and some coaches are like, "What are you talking about?" Well, I made it up, so that's why it's jacked up. But you take if we call a typical 24, our fullback's our two back. He's going to the 4 hole, so he's right off the guard's hip, and everybody else on the line is gap away, if that makes sense. It is that simple. I love it because it accounts for blitz. You're not picking up a man. You are simply gap away from where the fullback's going. So if I'm stepping here and we're running veer action, fullback's coming here, my whole offensive line is responsible for the left gap, if that makes sense. It's just gap protection. We have rules for all eligible receivers, so it doesn't matter what formation we're in. I'm going to go over 3, maybe 2, maybe 1 if I run out of time, of our play actions. We always read it deep to short. O-line has to sell it, keep your hat low. Some things we do to help them out there. Quarterback's first steps are the same as in the run game, and then depending on if he's going left or right, they change a little bit. And something that you really want to coach your quarterbacks, because they'll want to do it, is to stay in the pocket. Ball's going to get out quick, but stay in the pocket because they get happy feet in there. Slip. I spoke on this at a clinic in 2001. So that tells you the longevity of this play, and yeah, that's a lot of years. But it has been good to us. I think every championship game I've played in, we've ran slip, and I think maybe even completed slip. Play side tight end runs a slip. I'm going to show you on film what that is. Backside end runs a zone step skinny, which is exactly what he does on a run play. Our backside end always zone steps, pick it up, and then climbs to safety. When he's running the skinny on the slip, his action looks exactly the same. Tailback runs a wheel. This is a great man coverage beater, but to be honest, we run it against every coverage. Probably the most difficult one is cover 2 when they get the strength called to where we want to run it. But Coach, can you pull up that huddle clip, and we'll just walk them through it. If Coach can bring it back. This is where it all started, I veer. That's why slip, we started running it. And simply to what, I'll come up here and point and get in the way. I yell at Coach a lot. Would you rewind that? It needs to be where I need to have it. Pause. Okay, man coverage team. This guy responsible for this tight end. He's also responsible for pitch. We know that by how we've broken him down. That's an impossible thing to do, especially if you can sell the run. When we run slip, looks exactly like run game. We're going to block down and slip the block, release out the backside. We have that zone step skinny. Our aiming point, depending on what defense we get, we want to go right in front of that safety, which hopefully he sucks up on the run and you end up right behind him. Tailback always runs a wheel. Does not matter what formation. Those are your rules. And so this is an I-back. We're not a big I-back team anymore. I wish we were. I love that style of football, but the spread run game has kind of taken over, and I love spread with what you can do to defenses and move people around. So, Coach, let that run. You'll see a great slip block by 18. He actually punches him, hits it. He's a little bit deep. But, fellas, I can't tell you how many times this guy is wide open. You can see that backside end. Pull the safety over. That's actually a clear out, but that is our first read. Here again, like Coach Engelken said, reading it deep to short. Probably our favorite formation, because now I can split my tailback and dictate who I'm running the slip on. Depending on coverage, we can put him to another side. Motion's great, but this is still out of veer action, out of a, we call this tray. You can see it clear, come under, go back. This is a really good football player. This is Chase County. Yeah, you all recognize him. That's that backside linebacker, Budke. But we just get him to take a couple steps. That's all you need, and it's very hard if you watch backside linebacker to pick that up, to see it on that crosser. Next one, Coach. This is a pro set. I like it on goal line. Get a lot of man coverage down there. Pro set, nothing changes. As far as where guys are running, that's what I like about slip. You can run it out of any formation. It doesn't have to be out of veer action. I think you can run this almost out of any flow action and get the slip coming on the underneath. Next one, Coach. Twin set, pure man coverage. We're in sidecar now. Got him behind it. JD floats a little bit with his feet. I don't really like that, but you can watch our O-line work a little bit with the gap protection scheme. Go to 28, Coach. Well, they're not in order. Coach, go back. No. Just skip to the next one. You'll see it. One more. You get on the goal line, you got to change things a little bit. When we run that skinny, we like to run it right to the goal post. Slip still comes underneath. O-line's hats are really pathetic here. That's why I put this one on here. Watch our O-line, what happens up front. Hat movement. Don't sell it well. and the wrong read by our quarterback. He should have thrown the skinny. One more, and then I'm going to jump ahead. I've got, actually, go two more. I think if we're on the right one, this is a pretty good job of gap protection. One more time. Out of different formations, clears it out, man coverage. Okay, back to that slide so I know where I'm at. This is my first time ever doing a PowerPoint, so I don't know what you guys think, what kind of grade you would give that, but I don't know if you've noticed the color schemes. I have white up top, black within the red. Go route, this is simple. You call the tight end go, all he does is go. And we call it, as you're in the game and you're watching, by alignment. We call it by coverage a little bit. We call it by, if we've got a little bit of a mismatch, which you'll see on here. Receiver in the call runs go. Wide receivers run complementary routes. If we're in double tight, I like to leave that other end in, which simply lets my guard now come off the ball and show run even more. So back to huddle, coach, and run. How much time I got?
You're good.
Yeah, it's right there where it says go. You're still on slip, coach. One down. Something we don't like on go route is to get caught up in the trash. You can see Braxton here. He doesn't have really good genetics. That's part of his problem. But rewind that again. He gets caught up in the trash. We don't like that. If you're going, you're going. You're not faking a block. You're just trying to blow by him. And sometimes that catches us a little bit. Next one. This is a cover 2 look. And don't be afraid to run go with your wide receiver. This is against Madison. They're pure cover 2 team. And this film, little disclaimer, one more and pause that, coach. I got called 2 years ago. Most of this is from 2 years ago, but we're running the same stuff, to speak at a clinic in Michigan. And I was like, man, my wife would love to go to Michigan. And so I said, yeah, I'll do that. And I'm thinking brownie points, 5th honeymoon, that kind of thing. And that was the COVID year, and I did that presentation sitting in a classroom in front of a computer, and you talk about an awkward thing. I mean, you guys are a tough enough crowd, but being by yourself in a classroom is bad. But where you at? Go back one. Yep. We run this too. This is just our tray set. Got our tailback split to the left. Really good Wolgram, really good free safety. But he's up making tackles. They're in cover 2, so this is your flats player. And, you see that in the game, and you're like, hey, let's run go on the edge. Get the play action. We're still gap away. Decent hat movement by the O-line, and you get that. Next one, same game. This is late in the game, and I think we're up by maybe 10. And we get a turnover on downs down there. And sometimes you got to be really aggressive with play action. You can't just call it on second and short. I know I do, but sometimes that's first down. That's 1st and 10. We're supposed to just be running the clock out. Sometimes you dial it up when they least expect it. Good things will happen. Same series, same play. If you're having success running the football, don't be afraid to dial it up 2 times in a row. It's just an extension, and plus, maybe the most important thing it does is open up your run game. All of a sudden, safeties are cheating back because you've burnt them. Here again, we're moving people with that tailback split, and simple go. I know you guys are wondering. You came here to listen to a guy talk about just take off down the field. But why make it any harder than you have to make it? There again, don't like him getting caught up in the trash. Another thing about play action, your quarterback doesn't have to be a great thrower. He needs to be good, but he doesn't have to be great. because hopefully they're that wide open. Okay, Coach, roll the next one. You just cut me off when I'm. Arrow, and some people call this speed out. Love it when linebackers are responsible for flats. Tight end in the call runs arrow. Wide receivers run complementary routes. And then I'll get to this. Should have an A in it. Should be a clear call. That with arrow, we had this dialed up in the state championship game, and then we got really banged up on the interior, and it didn't matter. But I'll draw that up on the board for you here in a minute. But arrow is simply you are taking your tight end, sprinting to the sideline. Block the same, play action's the same. Get it to your guy out in the flats. Let him make a move. You can RPO this, which here again is, we don't have time to get into all that. Skip that one, Coach, it's just hard to see. But especially, rewind this just a little bit. My buddies at Canton Galva, I love those guys. Watch the run block here. He's responsible for flats. We're going vertical on the outside. And this is empty, you notice. So there is no play action. But then we get the arrow out there because that linebacker is responsible for flats. And as he steps outside, as Coach said earlier, defensive end, take that back one more, Coach. Defensive end will step outside with him. Not to that one, go back, there you go. Just so they can see what happens, the ways you can mess with the defenses with reads and things like that. We show run block, throw the arrow, and get out there. Obviously this isn't play action, and there are times we will run pass option, read that, and if I get time I'll get to that. Okay, that's arrow. Ice and ice pass, I didn't put much of this on here. It's a great call when you get man coverage and you're running a lot of ISO. We run some ice. This can be a big play because you can hit a home run on it. We pass block it the same. We run block. It's just big on big, and then we like to run it out of 10 personnel, twin split, and pull up that video real quick, Coach. It's up under the run game for some reason, right there. And that's just ice pass. Looks exactly like ISO, release fullback down the middle. Here again, great on teams that run pure man coverage. This is how we coach it. Graham didn't do it at the time for us. That's a terrible throw. Here again, bad genetics with Lafferty. But that is his dad sitting there. That's why I'm making that joke. And that's his grandpa sitting back there. But watch his steps. I do like that. We are absolutely getting destroyed in the middle because we are down to a wide receiver playing guard, a center who has an MCL strain, and then another guard with a pulled soleus. So we are just so banged up in this game. But you can see he's wide open. Had we not got blown back into our quarterback, good things happen. Okay, I want to talk about that clear call real quick, just because you're tired of looking at that screen. I'll draw this up. This is something you get against a 3-3 team, Wichita County, and you can RPO it too. But this is simple, and we were banged up front, so we try to make it real simple. But you get a 3-3 team that, and we ran it mostly out of this, but we're running the arrow, and they're in that 3-3. You guys have seen what they run. Some of you guys out west. We simply call it a clear call. This guy's reading this. He thinks we're running arrow. It vacates him, and we're simply running trap. And had we been able to get it, we cleared him with that call, and now we don't have to block him. And where we're so banged up, it's the biggest reason we put him in. We just clear him and run trap, run what you can run ice, power, whatever you want to run, and now you got a very favorable box on that side because his eyes are locked on him and you clear him out. So something we do just to spice up the run game a little bit. Where are we at? Hopefully they're about to kick me off here. Okay, redraw. If you want a little simple RPO to put into your program where you're behind the change, this is our redraw. Both our backs run swings, or if we have a tight end, they run an arrow. We just clear it out. Our other two receivers run vertical, and it is simple read with the quarterback. He just takes his steps. He's looking at both linebackers. If it's a 3-2, it's best against a 3-2. And when they both vacate, like on a cover 3, we run draw. If one of them sits, we throw that swing. Simple, effective, especially if you got a dude like I've had. I've been so blessed with quarterbacks, but run that redraw, coach, and then I'll sit down, shut up, and you can get going. Okay, this formation is just doubles. We're going to run swings by both sides. You can see both linebackers vacate, so it is a draw. This is a run-pass option that we read. Go to the next one. There's a lot better clips, and we don't have much time. One more, coach. Okay, getting our what we call our ace formation. You can see both swings. Run that again. Watch their linebackers. Linebacker sits. We throw the swing. You can see 6, who's a stud, by the way, sits in there, so it's a simple throw out to your running back. If they both vacate, we run the draw. And especially when you get behind the chains, it's 3rd and 15, whatever. They're setting in a prevent. And as you can see, we run it several times. Both linebackers fly out of there. He's running draw. Simple read for your quarterback to run. Different formation. It's a little T-flex, we call it. Same play. One more time, coach, rewind that, pause it. Another formation. Now we got both our backs. Now you're back at the front. Different formation, double tight. Yep, rewind it, pause it. So now we're double tight, empty. You saw us run it out of the T formation, double tight. Now we got both backs split. We got 2 verticals. We're running the swings. Simple read for your quarterback, and now you can let it play. So now maybe they understand what we did. So bob protect. Give your center a choice. I don't care which side that nose guard goes to. Our quarterback's going to read that once he knows he's running draw. So it's not like you have to have a big dude. In fact, we just want him to get his, I loved what Coach said about filming that, get his butt to the quarterback, and we will make that read. Simple motion call. As a young coach, I was trying to figure out how to call motion, ran across this at some clinic. A motion is to the formation. That's the guy coming from the outside, goes to the formation. B, he goes across the formation. That's when the quarterback snaps the ball. C, all the way across. If we run heli motion, it means we're going to be doing some kind of read option handoff. And of course, jet motion is we just making a little flip pass in the backfield. So that's something that may help you if you're wondering a better way, a young coach, to call motion. Nope. Coach tells me I'm done. So if you have questions, feel free to stick around. Anybody have anything that you'd like to see drawn up or shown before I just let you go? If not, catch me. Be glad to sit down and talk. I don't like talking up here, but I love sitting down at a table and just picking your brain and hopefully can help you out. So hope you got something out of it. It's always good to see all you old dogs and meet some of you new dogs. And best of luck next season. So thank you.